SportsCenter U.
This is Dick's Sporting Goods Kickoff Week.
Anticipation has been building all day in Shreveport, Louisiana. The rain is not going to put a damper on a SWAC football opener as these two teams renew a rivalry. They'll play each other for the 60th time in their program's history. Alcorn State and Grambling State coming up next. And we welcome you to ESPNU College Football Primetime, presented by McDonald's. Tonight we're in Independence Stadium in Shreveport, Louisiana for the 2011 Port City Classic as the Alcorn State Braves take on the Grambling State Tigers. Good evening, everybody. Alongside former NFL linebacker Eddie Robinson Jr., Adam Amin on hand. A couple of teams have new head coaches at their helms, but two guys that know these programs very well. It's a family affair that we have for you tonight as Doug Williams takes over at Grambling State. Melvin Spears Jr. takes over at Alcorn State.
Well, they used to both work together at Grambling State. Melvin was the offensive coordinator and their first cousins, so they have a lot of history together, but all that goes out the window. Today, you want to win your opening football game, and also you'll have bragging rights going all the way to Christmas holidays.
Both of these coaches believe that this will be the SWAC championship ball game in Birmingham, Alabama later on this year. Doug Williams, an outstanding quarterback at Grambling State. Obviously, the Super Bowl pedigree that he has. Melvin Spears Jr. knows Doug Williams very well. He's in his first season as the head coach at his alma mater. Outside of just the first cousins that are the head coaches, DJ Williams, the son of Doug Williams, is going to have an opportunity, just like Daddy did 37 years ago, to take the reins of this Grambling program as a true freshman.
Yeah, a great opportunity for DJ Williams. He's coming to Grambling as a true freshman, and he gets the start today. And Doug is putting a lot of pressure on this young kid, but I think he can handle it. He's been around this program for his entire life. Of course, he was one of the ball boys when Grambling had all of that success under Doug Williams in his first coaching stint about 10 years ago.
60th meeting between these two teams. Grambling has won 3 in a row and 4 of the last 5, and this is becoming a nice tradition as well. The 28th time that these two teams will meet to open up a season. Forget non-conference, SWAC football is getting underway tonight as we get set for the 2011 season. We've already seen all the impact that the rains have been having in Louisiana, considerably in New Orleans. The rains of Tropical Storm Lee, a handful of tropical storms in the area across the country, and tonight rain in the forecast. Here from Independence Stadium, Arturo Tamayo is the kicker for Alcorn State. 5'10" senior from Moore Park, California. Terrence Lewis, rather Edward Patterson and Kenneth Batiste back to return. Away we go in the 2011 college football season. From the 8-yard line. Off and running is Batiste, and he'll work himself out near the 30. And DJ Williams, just like Papa did 37 years ago, 1974, Doug Williams took over as a true freshman. DJ is going to have that opportunity tonight.
Well, DJ has to take over from day one, game 1 of the football season. At least Doug had a couple of games to get his feet wet. He came in midway during the season, so we'll see how DJ is able to handle the pressure of being a starting quarterback at Grambling State University.
Doug Williams said it's not the pressure that he feels of being Doug Williams' son, it's the pressure that he feels of being the quarterback at this fine program, Grambling State. 1st and 10 from the 28-yard line. And movement up front already to start the night. Both teams had issues with penalties a season ago. We're in the bottom half of the SWAC in penalties all last season.
Offside, defense, number 93, 5-yard penalty, main first down.
Jermaine Turner called for the offsides call. Let's get a look at that Grambling offense. You see the young running back, Juwan Martin, taking over for Frank Warren, one of the great SWAC running backs in all time. He's got a big load on his shoulders. Mario Lewis could be one of the big leaders for this ball club as well out of the wide receiver spot, a senior from New Orleans. After the 5-yard penalty, 1st and 5. The give is to Martin. Worked himself near the 35-yard line, about the 34. Short pickup. As you got to look at Martin from Chicago, Illinois. Big front line for Grambling this season, and you see some of the experience, but there's a lot of all SWAC performers up there. They have a lot of faith in that offensive line.
And if you have a young freshman quarterback, that's exactly what you need, is a big, strong offensive line, experienced bunch who can protect him and allow him to make plays down the field throwing the football.
Kenneth Batiste is in the backfield now for Grambling, a 5'7", 165-pound redshirt senior. He'll get the pitch to the outside, past the 35 and spun down. Finally brought down by William Thomas, the 6'1" sophomore. It's a gain of 3 on the play. Let's take a look at what the Alcorn State Braves bring defensively from their defensive coordinator, Michael Roach, who knows Melvin Spears very well.
You can see Brandon Morris, also this freshman, Damian Wilson. This is a guy that they really talked about. They got excited when they talked about Damian Wilson, and they're the guys in the secondary, one freshman and 2 seniors.
And that defensive backfield as well. Jason Owens is the leading returning tackler, a senior for Alcorn State. Short yardage situation, 3rd and 1. Needing to get to the 38-yard line. Batiste gets the call, and he works to the 45 for a first down. Stopped by Casey Freeman out of the secondary, a 6-yard pickup to extend the drive.
Great opening drive by Grambling State. And DJ Williams, you take the pressure off this kid by running downhill here with the inside run. Kenneth Batiste getting that first down. So DJ hasn't had to attempt a pass yet, so we'll see when he puts one up in the air.
Batiste, the redshirt senior, and now Juwan Martin, the freshman, is back in behind DJ Williams. Motion in O'Shea Hamilton in the backfield, and the second penalty flag of this opening drive.
False start. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remain first down.
This is a very athletic Alcorn State defense. LaRon Trigg is a 6'1" senior out of Flowood, Mississippi. He could be a huge player tonight. He's one of our impact players.
It does a good job of running to the football this year. They lost their top 5 leading tacklers, so they need this kid to step up and have a big season.
Those tacklers are gone for various reasons. We'll talk about that a little bit later. 1st and 15 after the penalty. Martin, the freshman, back near the original line of scrimmage. Pickup of 6, and LaRon Trigg right away is in on that tackle. A stud linebacker, just a handful of athletes on this Alcorn State defense that are run by Michael Roach. Roach was a former defensive coordinator at Grambling when Melvin Spears was the head coach.
Absolutely. So he knows the SWAC well. He knows Doug Williams well. And here, a lot of people coming and putting hats on the football. I like what Grambling's doing early with their play calling. You take the pressure off of your young running back, off of your young quarterback. Let that big offensive line establish an identity in the football game that we're going to run the football.
More movement up front. Snap with nobody in the neutral zone. Martin trying to push forward. He is stacked up. Shy of the 45-yard line, push back. It'll be a loss as Kenny Roby is able to come up and make the stop, the 6'1" senior from Mason, Mississippi. They say he can really run as well, and he's able to come out of the linebacker spot.
Yeah, these guys are going to have to do. They're going to have to stop the running attack of Grambling State today. A lot of hats around the football, and that's what Coach Roach talked about. He said, first and foremost, as a defense, we want to stop the running game so we can get them into these 3rd and long situations.
Nearly the full 10 needed. Already converted 1 3rd down. Van Phillips in motion. More movement up front. Kind of a sloppy start and some sloppy weather. And Grambling was the 7th most penalized team in the SWAC out of 10 last year. Alcorn was the 5th most penalized team last year in the SWAC. Doug Williams inserting a new offense for Grambling State. Still trying to work out the kinks this first week.
Delay a game on the offense. Number 4, 5-yard penalty. Remain 3rd down.
He's going to push it back further as the play clock ran down. Doug Williams graduated from Grambling in 1978. First African-American quarterback to start in a Super Bowl, the MVP of Super Bowl 22, and his son, DJ Williams, taking a snap in front of more people than he's ever taken a snap in front of before in his life. Dumped off underneath on 3rd down. Mario Lewis out of the wide receiver spot. They expect big things out of him, but not much of a gain there, and it's going to bring up 4th down.
Well, I like the play call. It's somewhat conservative, but you have a young freshman quarterback. You don't want him to make a mistake. You know, allow your wide receiver to have that little slip screen where he can make the catch and make a big play. If not, you can punt, win the field position battle, and let your defense come in and do some good things for you there.
Maybe Carter on the punt for the Tigers.
Fabian Carter is the punter. And you got to look at Jamison Knox, the sophomore, who is back ready to return. The junior from Miami lets it go. Knox with a flag thrown on the play. Contact before the catch. This might give Alcorn State some better field positioning after a 43-yard punt from Fabian Carter. Let's take another look at it. It was Fleming who came up to try to knock down
Kick catch
Knox.
interference on the kicking team. 15 yards from the end of the play. 1st and 10, Alcorn.
Alcorn State will take over the football with a scoreless tie. Under 10 minutes to go in this first quarter. ESPNU's College Football Primetime is presented by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And in part by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. Melvin Spears Jr., the head coach of Alcorn State, his first season at the helm at his alma mater, and his Alcorn State Braves take over the possession at their own 30-yard line after a penalty on a punt. You got to look at Brandon Bridge, who will do it all. He'll pass, he'll run. Very athletic. He picks up a gain of 1 on 1st down. He's stopped by Cliff Eczema, an All-American candidate, linebacker, a grad student for Grambling State. Brandon Bridge, they call him Air Canada, originally from Ontario. And you got to look at the balance, the different things that he's able to do offensively.
Yeah, last year you're talking about a kid that had 600 yards rushing and about 2,000 yards passing, so he can get it done in the air and on the ground. A multi-dimensional player from the quarterback position.
Doug Williams, head coach at Grambling, said if he's not the most athletic player in the SWAC, he's not far behind. Also said he makes us a little nervous. Snap on 2nd down and a screen thrown out to the flat to Terrence Lewis. Got room to run across the 45-yard line. A penalty flag is thrown, though, on the near sideline. Lewis was pushed out by Naquan Smith. A 16-yard pickup, but let's see what the flag is about. Flag thrown back at the 35-yard line. Saw Grambling have 3 penalties on their first offensive drive.
Holding on the offense, number 88. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Remain 2nd down.
Avery Williams called for the penalty.
Yeah, Avery Williams, there's good execution on that play, but you have to keep your hands inside. You can see he has one hand on the back of the jersey. That's an easy call for the referee to make. And absolutely, the wide receiver's already passed the block, so you didn't have to hold the block that long.
Trey Williams, linebacker, was the one being held up. So that pushes it back to 2nd and 15. From just shy of the 25-yard line for Bridge from Mississauga, Ontario. It's the Toronto area, southern Ontario. Got a good block in the backfield from Arnold Walker. Trying to take off. Will not escape the pressure. Wrapped up and brought down by Grambling's defense. It is Brune Foster. And let's get a look at this Alcorn State offense. Arnold Walker, a junior, but didn't have a ton of carries last season out of the running back spot. A young wide receiver core as well for Alcorn State. And their offensive line, Melvin Spears says it's one of his youngest, but one of his most athletic that he's ever had. Cody Rose at the right tackle, a late insertion of the lineup.
Yeah, and that offensive lineman, that's some big guys. I mean, these guys go over 300 pounds. So for him to say that's the most athletic, that's a pretty good accomplishment to be big and athletic.
3rd and long, pressure coming. Tossed over the middle on a screen play. And Arnold Walker out of the backfield across the 30-yard line. That's going to be short, and a 4th down is coming up. Similar to what we saw with Grambling. Alcorn State is going to have to punt on its first possession with under 8 minutes left in this first quarter.
A good job defensively by Grambling. You were able to you were helped out by that holding penalty by Alcorn. You get them in a 3rd and long situation. You're able to execute and get off the field. So now we'll see special teams always is a big thing in an opening game. You have a lot of freshmen. This is their first football game. And so special teams, you can have mistakes and it can cost you a ball game if the young guys don't prepare and play well.
Kenneth Batiste is back to return, and Arturo Tamaya punt. And this is a good one. It will take a bounce into the end zone, and Grambling will have its next offensive possession from its own 20-yard line, a 70-yard booming punt from Tamayo. Watch BCS Countdown on ESPNU each Monday night as our experts provide an in-depth analysis of the BCS contenders and where each school stands after the first weekend of college football. BCS Countdown presented by Allstate on ESPNU Monday at 7 Eastern. It's already been a great opening weekend, kicking off on Thursday night with some great games, and we continue it here on this Saturday night in Shreveport, Louisiana. O'Shea Hamilton in motion into the backfield. And DJ Williams runs into Juwan Martin as Martin tries to push forward near the 25-yard line. Let's take a look at what we're going to take a look at over the course of our night tonight. Some great things to talk about. Obviously, with SWAC football, you got a couple of great quarterbacks, Steve McNair and Doug Williams. And we got to look at a great legend in Eddie Robinson Sr.
You can't talk about Grambling football without starting off talking about the legendary coach Eddie Robinson, and of course that's the Eddie Robinson Museum, which is on the campus at Grambling State University.
And my partner had a chance to go down and take a look at the museum today, which opened up in 2010, and you'll have an inside look at it as well. DJ Williams on 2nd and 6. Play clock down to 1. We'll get it off. Some space to throw. Pass completed. And a big pop. Grambling State offensively with Courtney Sims out of the tight end spot making the catch, and Jason Owens, who's the leading returning tackler, one of the better secondary players, with the stop.
Yeah, Jason Owens coming up from that free safety position. This is a big boy tackle right here. I mean, he really lays the lumber and has a good knock him back, but I like that play call by Doug Williams. Just a simple waggle, get the quarterback out the pocket, an easy throw and catch. You'll have that confidence, get that first throw, and now you're in a 3rd and manageable situation where you can either run or pass, and you take that pressure off of your young quarterback.
Pick up a 4 to make it 3rd and 2. Hamilton shifts off the line. Got to get the play off, though, and they will not. It's going to be the 2nd delay of game penalty.
Well, you look at young DJ Williams at the quarterback position. He did a couple good things. He's already drawing the defense off twice, so he's using the hard count. But the opposite side of that, he's already gotten 2 delayed games penalties. So right now, that balances out in the penalty standpoint. But now you go from that 3rd and 2 to a 3rd and 7. That gives a huge advantage to the defense. They can start blitzing. They can run multiple defensive schemes. It puts a little more pressure on that offense to convert.
And Melvin Spears says that's what he wants to do in this ball game. Against a young quarterback in DJ Williams, throw a lot of different things at him. Already 4 Grambling penalties.
And Alcorn only has 1 defensive lineman with his hand down, so it's time to have some confusion.
Pressure off the edge. Williams able to get away, but he's going to be stopped shy of the 20-yard line. Damian Wilson, freshman on freshman with the stop. They say this kid might be playing on Sundays at some point soon. There is a flag thrown on the play, though. It would force 4th down, but let's take a look at what this penalty marker might be about. Kenny Roby had the initial pressure before Damian Wilson came off the edge for a 3-yard loss.
Yeah, the signal is holding against the offense.
Okay, they might decline this penalty and force 4th down.
Holding on the offense, number 67. That penalty is declined, be 4th down.
Trenton Livingston has already had a busy night. Julian Winden on the holding call.
Look at the pre-snap. Everybody's standing up, and so you have a free rusher putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He escapes the first one. The number 25 coming off the edge, Kenny Roby, but then Damian Wilson, number 90, he comes around and corrals young DJ Williams for the sack.
piece of the punt knocked down near the line of scrimmage, and it's going to be very good field position coming up here. But another penalty flag on the punt. Good work on for Trenton Livingston already tonight, and Doug Williams has seen some sloppy play early from his Grambling side. Let's see what this penalty flag is going to be about.
Downstairs, you want the hot seat, south seat, upstairs.
Melvin Spears Jr. doesn't seem to be happy with Brandon Thompson.
During the kick, holding on the return team, number 56, be 10 yards from the end of the kick, 1st and 10, Alcorn, timeout.
Donovan Hill is called for the penalty. Alcorn State, with under 5 minutes to go, takes over when we come back as we open up the 2011 SWAC football season here on ESPNU.
So your 2:30 canceled?
Are you forgetting something? My breakfast. Get me something delicious, something wholesome.
Okay.
You're watching Dick's Sporting Goods Kickoff Week and ESPNU's College Football Primetime presented by McDonald's. These two teams opening up the SWAC football season. Let's take a look at what's going around the SWAC right now. Get a look at the preseason offensive and defensive player of the years, and Prairie View A&M and Bethune-Cookman tomorrow at noon on ESPN, part of the MEAC and SWAC Challenge. Brandon Bridge on first down with great field positioning for Alcorn State. Air Canada will air it out. He's got a man downfield and a touchdown. Terrence Lewis. A 53-yard strike. Braves on the board first.
Air Canada executing purposely there. Perfectly throwing that deep ball. You could tell he puts just enough on it, and a great job by number 2, Terrence Lewis, hauling that in, the junior, 5'11", 175-pound wide receiver.
Doug Williams' team trailing with 4:46 to go here in this first quarter. Terrence Lewis on a perfectly touched ball by Brandon Bridge. Arturo Tamayo makes it 7-0. The 5'11" junior from Fort Myers, Florida. Melvin Spears said he might be one of the fastest guys in the country you've never heard of. After 3 touchdowns last year, one of them against Grambling, he picks up a 53-yard strike.
Here, Bridge with the deep pass. You like the touch. Giving Alcorn an early lead.
7-0 Braves on top.
From the beginning, the Southwestern Athletic Conference has molded and formed students to become legends, to step into the world and take it by storm. The Southwestern Athletic Conference prides itself in excellence, in determination and grit, and in making champions. There are some here, some that the next generation will call heroes. The Southwestern Athletic Conference honor the heritage.
From the award-winning producer.
College football primetime on ESPNU and a 7-0 Alcorn State lead. Brandon Bridge hooking up with Terrence Lewis. And Arturo Tamayo with a short kick running up to the 20-yard line is Batiste. Trying to push forward and work his way up near the 35-yard line. 16-yard return on a short kick. Let's take a look at that 53-yard touchdown strike from Bridge to Lewis.
And what I really like about this play is Brandon Bridge. He shows a lot of poise. He gets out of the pocket. He could have taken off and ran, but he settled down, set his feet, and just threw a big-time play down the field to Terrence Lewis. And this kid has a lot of speed. He actually had to wait because the ball was somewhat overthrown, but a great throw and catch by the Alcorn State Braves.
Naquan Smith was on the coverage. He leapt up trying to tip it away, but that was about as pretty of a ball as you'll see. It's the freshman Martin stacked up at the line of scrimmage. It'll be a short gain, and LaRon Trigg, one of our impact players, is coming up inside to make the stop. He's got some help from the defensive line. Ricky Joseph and Jermaine Turner, a couple of big boys on that front line. They say our front seven is beastly. Alcorn State says that. They've proven to be so far. They've held the running game in check for the most part early.
Yeah, on the first drive, Grambling State had some success running the football, but Alcorn wants to stop the run and force Grambling into passing situations.
Put Kenneth Batiste in to the backfield. Just 20 yards rushing so far from Grambling State. 2nd and 9. Batiste popped at the 39-yard line from behind. Damian Wilson off the edge and running out to stop Batiste. Facebook.com/ESPNU. You can log on and answer our question. Who will win the SWAC title? Texas Southern is the defending champion. Grambling's only loss last year was to Texas Southern. Of course, Texas Southern beat Alabama State last year. It's a sore spot for Eddie Robinson Jr.
Yeah, that doesn't sit too well with me. Of course, I'm an Alabama State grad, but that was a great game. And Texas Southern, you know, putting things back in the West with Prairie View, and Texas Southern winning the last 2 years.
3rd and 9 for Williams. He's got room to run. He'll dump it off instead. Van Phillips across the 45-yard line, but be enough for the first down on a pickup of 7, and that'll extend the Grambling drive.
Nice decision here by DJ. You see a spot to run, you just wait for your wide receiver to cross. Shows a lot of patience, and then the guy is right there. He's only 10 yards away. Hey, hit him with the touch pass. Don't try to gun the ball. Let your receiver have that run after catch.
Hard count. We've seen that often from Williams today. Pressure coming. He evades it the first time. Can't get away the second. It's Damian Wilson again. Second tackle for a loss. This time it's pushed back for 4.
Damian Wilson, only a freshman, goes 6'3", 250 from Liberty, Mississippi. You can tell he's coming around the corner. DJ Voy's the first guy, but there's Damian Wilson. They talked about this kid like he was the man coming on campus as only a freshman, and you can see already he's been in a couple good plays, having 2 sacks on the quarterback here in the first quarter.
Well, you know you're getting into it when your jersey is torn like that. Boy, Wilson is a beast. That's used that word a couple of times, and it is apropos with him. Tim Carter helped out on that pressure as well. For 2nd and 14 now for Williams. Time to throw, and a short pass underthrew his man underneath. Damian Jefferson, the intended receiver. We gave you the question, and you can log on to Facebook.com/ESPNU to see who you think is going to win the SWAC title. This is what these two teams look like. Grambling picked to win the West. Alcorn State finished rough last year in the SWAC East a season ago, but they're picked to finish 2nd under Melvin Spears.
Then you look at the quarterback, Brandon Griggs, coming back for his 2nd year, and you saw him on that long throw. So a lot of people think that Alcorn State has what it takes to get into that SWAC championship game. Of course, with Doug Williams and Melvin Spears, they're like, hey, we would love nothing more than to have a family reunion at the SWAC championship with both of these teams making it there.
Another 3rd and long for DJ Williams. Fires to the sideline. It's Phillips again. Going to be short of the first down, perhaps. 14-yard pickup on 3rd down, and he got across the marker, and that will move the chains. Close play, but Phillips got enough there.
Yeah, and I think DJ is really starting to settle down in the quarterback spot. Coming out the shotgun, he's looking left. He has the patience, and he lets that out route clear, and good job of getting that first down.
And movement before the play once again. Another penalty marker.
DJ has already gotten that defense to jump offside twice, and a couple times they've been close. So he's doing a really good job of working the hard count, not just snapping the ball on one every time.
Offsides on the defense. 5-yard penalty. Remain first down.
I've seen that hard count a couple of times already now.
What he's trying to tell his guys, hey man, it's not on one. Why are you moving? Let them jump offside. I'm working something here. That's the 3rd time he's gotten that defense to jump offside. So,
well, 1st and 5 with under a minute 50 to go. Some herky-jerky drives to start the night tonight. More movement up front before the play. Only needed 5. He's going to get more than that. Van Phillips again across the 20-yard line, a 20-yard pickup. And Phillips is DJ Williams' favorite target in his first career start.
Well, so far, that's the guy that he's looking at. And just a great job of Phillips just settling down in the zone, throwing it right in between the three Alcorn State receivers. A nice, confident throw. He sets his feet. And you like this from a young kid standing there in the pocket. And that offensive line, they're providing the protection for DJ Williams so he doesn't get hit and has the follow through on that throw.
And that's something Doug Williams really likes, the offensive line with all the returning all SWAC performers. Lofting down the sideline, penalty flag is thrown, but what a play by Mario Lewis. Not a catch though on the play. Coverage from Jaquez Caldwell, who plays receiver as well for Alcorn State. Lewis with an athletic play, but unable to haul it in. A penalty marker is thrown though. Second on the team in receptions a season ago, Mario Lewis.
Defensive, pass interference. Number 15. First and 10, Grambling.
Alcorn coming with the all-out blitz, but watch DJ. He stands in the pocket, takes the hit, and Mario Lewis never giving up on the play. It's one-on-one coverage. It's my football. You like the way he elevates and tries to go up for that catch, and he does draw the pass interference call.
Inside of the red zone. Brought to you by Verizon. 26 touchdowns last season. Grambling very solid inside of the red zone. They were third in conference in red zone efficiency a season ago. Down 7-0 nearing the end of the first quarter. Play fake, rolling right. Pressure coming from Roby. Ball comes loose. Grambling will keep the football. Brandon Morris punched it loose from DJ Williams. And Juwan Martin had to sprint back and cover it. Big loss on the play.
That's part of the things that you have to accept when you start a freshman at the quarterback.
Play fake, rolling right, pressure coming from
nothing's there. The best thing to do is just throw the football away. You're first and goal, but now you try to do too much and you wind up getting the sack and the fumble and the big loss.
You see the frustration from DJ Williams. A timeout is called by Grambling. Early in this ball game, first quarter under DJ Williams' belt in college football. What do you think so far?
Well, I mean, I give him a C right about now. He's done some really good things. Of course, Alcorn, they brought the pressure on him a couple of times, but he's still making the right decisions with the football. In that play right there, he tried to do a little bit too much, but that's something that's going to happen. The freshman's going to have to learn those, and you have to go through those growing pains.
You got to look at Doug Williams, the head coach of Grambling, along with his son DJ. They said both of them, the relationship is father-son off the field, coach-player. They're trying to keep that as firm as possible. Coach-player on the field. Kind of joked around about it with us yesterday. Doug Williams said, we don't even ride home together. He doesn't get a ride, all right? He's one of my players until we get home.
Well, he said that DJ has to live on campus. He has to wash his own clothes. You have to still go through that experience of being a college freshman, even though your dad's the head coach. But if you look at the relationship between the coach Eddie Robinson and the Doug Williams, it's exactly the same. I mean, Coach Eddie Robinson was a father figure to Doug Williams off the football field, but on the field it was a coach-quarterback relationship. So he's trying to mimic that same type of mentoring relationship that he received from Eddie Robinson. And DJ is a great kid. Been a ball boy around this organization for a long time, so he's going to get it done. You can tell already.
You saw Vyron Brown, the offensive coordinator, holding court on the sideline. And Vyron's joking around with DJ about it now, because now Vyron's kids are the ball boys for this team.
A lot of tradition in Grambling State football.
Vyron was a running back on 2 SWAC championship teams at Grambling. Second and goal all the way back at the 23. Full 10 of the play clock. Williams looking for the end zone. Touchdown! Bakari Maxwell going up for DJ Williams' first touchdown as a college quarterback.
And what a response by DJ Williams and the Grambling State Tigers. You take the big sack, you depress, you come back with a great play, you throw it high on the outside where only your guy can get it, and you let him go up and use his athletic ability to make a big play. Nice catch by Bakari Maxwell.
The junior from Houston was a Houston Cougar for a short time. Zoltan Riazo, preseason All-SWAC selection, punching it through to tie us up at 7 apiece. We've seen a couple of really good touchdown strikes from both quarterbacks in this ball game. Bakari Maxwell with an impressive catch from 23 yards out.
You're talking about the future of the quarterback position with Eric Canada and Brandon Bridge, and now you're talking about a young DJ Williams who comes back after a big sack and throws this play for the touchdown to tie up this football game. You like the poise after having that big mistake on first down to come back and have the mental toughness to throw a touchdown on second down.
Nearly 200 yards receiving last year for Maxwell. They've got some young receivers on this team, but the experience is there with Maxwell, with Lewis. Doug Williams said, I'm still waiting for somebody to take the reins as a leader on this team. He talks very highly about Mario Lewis. Bakari Maxwell, one of the older guys who has some higher level Division I experience, could be another guy to lean on for DJ Williams.
Well, I tell you, if DJ keeps playing like he did on that play, I think DJ Williams is going to be that natural leader. I mean, the kid has been around. You can tell he's a tough kid, mentally tough. But it's hard for a freshman to be a leader of a football team. He did participate in the spring, but if you haven't thrown any passes or taken any licks, the players aren't going to listen to you. But he's coming out here, he's taking some licks, having some success. I wouldn't be surprised if he turns out to be the leader of that football team.
Beat out Frank Rivers, the sophomore from Fairfield, Alabama, in the quarterback race. Doug Williams, with the incredible pedigree that he has, there is some pressure to perform at Grambling. Terrence Lewis makes a move at the 25. Can't get free at the 30. He'll be spun down shy of the 35-yard line, a 23-yard return. Alcorn State will take over with 28 seconds remaining. Brandon Bridge, a 53-yard touchdown strike to Lewis. And now DJ Williams answers with a 23-yard touchdown to Bakari Maxwell. We're tied at 7. These are a couple of very good offensive teams. Alcorn third in scoring a season ago. Grambling was the number 2 offense in the SWAC.
Yeah, but Grambling coming off that zone read option attack that they had last year. Now you see they want to have that vertical passing game, and that's the same thing that Alcorn State wants to do under Melvin Spears. They want to go down the field and put a lot of points on the board.
5 wide for Brandon Bridge, and time to throw. Slings one. It might have been deflected at the line of scrimmage. Sails out of bounds. Second down coming up, and Jamarcus Savage with pressure off the edge. You got to look at Cliff Eczema, who is an All-American candidate, 2-time first-team All-SWAC selection. He's the cog on the defensive end for the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. This kid had 106 tackles last year and only played in 9.5 games. He couldn't complete the entire season. But this guy will play sideline to sideline. He makes a lot of big plays. He's that impact on defense that you have to have in order to have a successful season.
Graduated this past spring with a bachelor's in criminal justice, playing in his 37th career game for Grambling. He was in Miami Beach, Florida, originally born in Brooklyn. Handoff goes to Arnold Walker to the edge, and not much room to run. Brune Foster coming up with a stick for a loss of 3. Foster, a very impressive stop. He is the leading tackler for the defensive backs coming back for Grambling State this year. Redshirt senior from Orlando Beach, Florida, with a stop and tough situation coming up for Alcorn State after 1 quarter as we open up the 2011 SWAC season. One of the great rivalries in all of SWAC football and all of college football. A couple of very high-level coaches squaring off tonight here in Louisiana. You think SWAC football, you think a little pageantry, you think a lot of tradition.
A lot of tradition. Alcorn State band playing there, and also the Grambling State Marching Band. 2 really good bands at this game.
You want to see a good halftime show? You're going to have one if you come to Shreveport, Louisiana today. 3rd and 13 coming up for Alcorn State and Brandon Bridge. Time to throw, but pressure coming. Still on the move and running out of time. Get back near the original line of scrimmage. And let's take a look at a couple of big plays in the first quarter by two young quarterbacks.
You have to start with Air Canada going deep, 53-yard touchdown strike there to Terrence Lewis to give the Alcorn State Braves the early lead. But DJ Williams, not to be outdone, in his first ever college football game, he puts up the touchdown to Bakari Maxwell. Excellent job of going up and taking control of that football. We were tied up at 7 starting the second quarter.
It was going to be interesting to see what Grambling did. They did not pass the football that often against Alcorn State last year, but they're giving DJ Williams a lot of faith, and they're giving him some good protection as well to have some time to throw today.
Yeah, well, this is the Doug Williams Grambling team. They're going to pass it quite a bit this year.
Kenneth Batiste from the 34, still on his feet and down near the 39. Penalty flag is thrown.
That's something you always worry about in that first game, because you have a lot of young guys playing, a lot of excitement. You try to bring the referees to the practices to control the penalty calls, but until that game starts to go full speed, you really have to teach your players how to play within the rules and not get penalties.
You've seen a lot of flags thrown early already in this game.
Holding on the return team. 10 yards from the end of the kick. 1st and 10, Grambling.
The Tigers take over early in this second quarter. Last season, a 38-28 victory for Grambling. And again, their only loss in the SWAC season came to Texas Southern, who eventually won the SWAC title. That was a really tight game, too. That was an overtime loss to Texas Southern last year.
Yeah, that was down in Houston. That was a good game. If you're Alcorn, you have to really focus on stopping this run that Grambling State has, because when they could get Grambling in the 3rd and long, they have a defense where they're putting one defensive lineman and they're able to try to confuse the young quarterback. But if they can run the football, Grambling has a good chance to be successful on offense.
Martin across the 25 to the 27-yard line on first down. It's a pickup of 4. Kirk Herbstreit High School football returns to ESPNU tomorrow with a pair of games. Noon Eastern, St. Xavier takes on Pickerington Central. Then at 3:30 Eastern, Springfield and Upper Arlington. Gotta love Ohio high school state football. The Kirk Herbstreit High School Football Classic on ESPNU starting tomorrow. DJ Williams, the freshman quarterback, his first career start. Timeout call. That's the second Grambling timeout of the night.
Keep in mind, this is a Grambling State team that they lost Frank Warren. He had over 1,500 yards rushing and 18 touchdowns. So it's somewhat of an identity change when you lose a guy that was so crucial and had over 4,000 career yards. Now you have a freshman quarterback and a Doug Williams-led offense. So you have to change the whole philosophy on what you're doing offensively.
I wanted to say Grambling can run the football a little bit more even without Frank Warren. This is what we saw last season. Grambling really relied on the ground game, as you would with the second leading rusher all time in SWAC history in Frank Warren, while Air Canada was given carte blanche to pass often. And you were joking around yesterday, but it's true. 29 rushes last season for Alcorn State. Brandon Bridge probably had a good portion of those. He did. And now you get to look at the difference today from Grambling. Balanced.
Yeah, Grambling State wants to be a lot more balanced team, mainly because you still have a young quarterback. But Grambling, traditionally, they do run the football, but Doug Williams, he's a quarterback. So a quarterback's going to do what? He's going to call pass plays.
Exactly.
And so once DJ gets his feet under him, you can bet that he's going to try to air it out. And the thing about it, they really like the wide receivers that they have, and they feel like those guys can make big plays down the field.
They've got some younger receivers, but they do have some good experience at that wide receiver spot. 2nd and 6 from the 27-yard line. Pressure coming off the edge. Williams brought down to the 21. Kenny Roby and Brandon Morris with a loss of 7 on 2nd down. This is going to bring up a 3rd and long for Grambling. There's Kenny Roby, who's untouched coming in.
And this is the second time he's come untouched. You can tell he's lining up from a outside little rover position, but they're not picking him up in the interior count. So one of those offensive linemen have to point out to say, hey, if this guy comes, either we have to pick him up or a quarterback. It's your responsibility to say, hey, if he comes, throw the ball hot. So they're either missing the hot read or one of the offensive linemen is not making that adjustment to pick up Roby off the edge.
It's the 4th sack for Alcorn State's defense. And a penalty marker is down before a 3rd and 11 play.
And you can bet, I mean, a defensive coordinator like Michael Roach, an experienced guy, if they don't stop that, they'll just keep running that same blitz the rest of the game.
Delay of game, offense, number 4, 5-yard penalty, remain third down.
Third delay of game call and the 6th penalty flag against Grambling's offense. These are the kinks that need to be worked out for Doug Williams in a new offense. Don't forget, this is a change in the offensive set for Grambling this year. They were a spread option team last year with the great running back in Frank Warren. 3rd and 16 from just past the 15-yard line. Williams going to have to take off. And he'll be stopped shy of the 20. And it's going to bring up 4th down and a punt unit for Grambling State coming on.
In those 3rd and long situations, that so favors the defense. So Alcorn is doing on 3rd down. When they get into those 3rd and long situations, they have one defensive lineman with his hand down over the center, and you have 10 guys standing up. So they're not going to let DJ Williams feel comfortable in the pocket when they get into those 3rd and long situations. They're going to make that very uncomfortable.
Maybe a little frustration setting in early for DJ Williams. He's been hit or miss, as has the Grambling offense early. Fabian Carter to punt. Terrence Lewis back at his own 35. That's a great punt back to the 25, and Lewis slips and falls. And a very impressive punt from Fabian Carter. 55 yards from Fabian Carter on that kick. His long last season was just 52 yards. Alcorn State and Grambling opening up the 2011 SWAC season. Just over a dozen left in the first half, tied at 7. The godfather of the SWAC, Marino Chasm, who is the head coach of Alcorn State for quite a long time. There's so much tradition, not only with the teams, but these coaches oftentimes make these programs what they are. Marino Chasm is one of the guys who made Alcorn State what it is today.
Yeah, I mean, he was that back at Alcorn from 64 to 85, and they're actually going to change the name of Jack Spink Stadium to Chasm Spink Stadium, and they'll do that before the home game on September 17th. They're one of the classiest guys. He was also athletic director at Southern University. Just a real good guy that was also in the SWAC conference along with Coach Eddie Robbins.
From the 22-yard line, Brandon Bridge. A handoff to Anthony Williams. Room to run, and finally upended shy of the first down marker. Good run on first down. 6-yard pickup for Anthony Williams, a freshman out of Louisiana. Melvin Spears said they needed to add some good pieces around Brandon Bridge, especially in the running game. And Melvin Spears thinks Arnold Walker and Anthony Williams are the guys to be those big pieces.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Bridge can take you on his shoulders and win the football game. But in order to have a successful season and to win a championship, you're going to need other players to step up and make those big plays from the running game position. So that's what you need. On first down, you get 8. Now you're in a 2nd and 2 situation. You really have the defense in your hands. You can do your whole playbook. You can run or pass in this situation.
On 2nd and 3. Williams again. One way and another, and Eczema comes up from the linebacker's spot. No gain on the play to bring up 3rd, and still a short situation coming up. As you got to look at Eczema and Jacardi Carter as well. Those are 2 guys that are in this defensive secondary. Both have had great springs, and Doug Williams, along with Cliff Yoshida, who's the 5th-year defensive coordinator for Grambling, they both have a lot of faith in those guys to try to carry the defense. They need to get to the 32-yard line. Brandon Bridge already with a touchdown pass in this game. Empty backfield. Bridge still moving backwards and brought down. Eczema, Williams, and the rest of the Grambling defense for a loss of 16. Bridge with nowhere to run.
A great awareness by the Grambling defense. They're trying to run a design quarterback draw. All of the guys are staying in their lane, not in pass rushing mode on 3rd down. Then it's just a rally to the football and try to sack a talented guy, and they get the job done.
Holding on the offense, number 65. That penalty is declined. It'll be 4th down.
Isaac Williams on the hold, and Melvin Spears' offense stalls deep inside of its own territory.
A well-dressed Melvin Spears. He's taking the cue from Coach Eddie Robinson and some of the old-time coaches, wearing a suit and tie on the sideline, looking sharp.
Kenneth Batiste back to return. Redshirt senior from Lafayette, Louisiana, Arturo Tamayo. Good protection and a short punt. Fair catch at the 46. 42-yard punt from Tamayo, and Grambling will take over. Tie ball game 7 apiece. 5 minutes gone by here in this first half. And the Tigers looking for a lead when we return. ESPNU's College Football Primetime is brought to you by Capital One's Venture Card with double miles on every purchase every day. And by Smooth Bush Beer and easy drinking Bush Light. 7-all and Grambling with the football with 10:05 to go, and good field position for the Tigers. DJ Williams on first down, back to throw. Taking a shot down the field and incomplete. He overthrew his intended target. It was Mario Lewis. 2nd and 10.
I like the call. I mean, you've been real basic and running on first down for the last couple of series. So you come out with a first down play. You try to run all goals. Maybe you catch one of the secondary members sleeping, get a big play. But now you're in a 2nd and 10 situation with DJ. And one big thing, I think they have to get that play in just a little quicker. You know, they've had those couple of delay of games call, which is really just an offensive penalty. It's not just on the quarterback when that play doesn't get in there on time.
Hamilton in motion for Grambling. Batiste out of the backfield will get the screen pass, a low throw, and down at the 39. It'll be a loss of 5 yards on the play, and 3rd and long coming up.
Trying to run a quick swing pass. You can see the pressure by Alcorn State. Unable to good throw so the receiver can have a good run after catch. With the knee down, now it's a 3rd and long situation. Alcorn has been very successful in these situations so far in this game as far as putting pressure on young DJ Williams.
3rd and 15. 3 out of 5 so far, though, Grambling on 3rd down in this game. This is a long one. Williams fires, incomplete. 4th down coming up. But a penalty flag is thrown. Jeremiah Hernandez was the intended target. We've seen a handful of penalty flags in this ball game already. 11 penalties in this game, and a couple of other penalties that have been declined.
Illegal formation. 5 men in the backfield. That penalty is declined. Be 4th down.
You know, we talked to Doug Williams about spring practice and getting ready for this year. And he said in the spring, you see the offensive tackle seems to be not all the way on the line of scrimmage. That's that 5th guy in the backfield. But one thing he talked about was just, you know, it was real messy in the spring. But he said coming back in the fall, it seemed like it was turning the corner. But when you have a new offense, a young quarterback, you're going to have a couple of series that just don't go well. But you just have to string together enough good plays to make it so you can win a football game.
Gabe Fleming with a high snap. Carter had to rush the punt, but it's going to get a friendly roll. And a solid punt for Fabian Carter. 7-7 ball game. Let's take a look at what's going on next week on our college football slate right here on ESPNU. Central Michigan and Kentucky kicking things off at noon Eastern. Stanford and Duke. New Mexico and Arkansas in our primetime game, along with South Carolina State against Bethune-Cookman. South Carolina State lost to to Central Michigan earlier in the week on Thursday to open up their season. They'll be in Daytona Beach to take on Bethune-Cookman next Saturday night. Alcorn State is going to take over deep inside of its own territory once again. So far, the offensive end for Alcorn State has not been kind. They had that great touchdown throw from Bridge to Terrence Lewis for 53 yards. Other than that, 3 and out 3 times.
At Grambling State, I mean, they came into this game with a pretty good defense from last year and a good front 7.
In I formation with Arnold Walker getting the call. Brought down at his ankles by Jacardi Carter. pickup of 1 on that first down run.
I think the history of Melvin Spears and Doug Williams, two coaches who want to have that vertical passing attack, but in this type of game, first game of the year, your offenses are trying to find their way just a little bit. Also with the weather conditions, rain, kind of windy, I think both teams were trying to just settle down into an offensive groove and getting a good running game going, but it's tough to run on either one of these defenses.
Second and 9 for Bridge. And that I formation look one more time with a couple of tight ends. Play action. Bridge hit as he throws, and in the area was Foster. Potentially for an interception. Turned around and the ball was there. Good pressure from the front line. 3rd and 9 coming up. Trey Williams on the attack.
Yeah, good play fake, but coming off the backside, you have an unblocked man, and your quarterback doesn't have a chance unprotected. And he takes a big shot at number 42, Trey Williams, and very fortunate because if Foster had been facing the quarterback, that would have been an easy interception in the turnover. So now, 3rd and long situation. We'll see if Grambling is able to mix it up and bring some pressure against Air Canada.
Trying to avoid another 3 and out on 3rd and 9. The sophomore from Southern Ontario has 5 receivers and a penalty flag before the snap. This has killed a lot of the rhythms for both of these offenses.
Delay of game on the offense. Number 7, 5-yard penalty. Remain 3rd down.
Well, Adam, I think that handful of penalties is going to a basket full of penalties right now, and they're starting to really add up, and that's very annoying to the coaches. I mean, a 3rd and 9 is hard enough to convert, and now you get to a 3rd and 14, and it's just that much harder. You're backed up into your own red zone territory. Hard to come up with a safe play that can't end in destruction in this situation.
And penalties for these teams, half a dozen, or a dozen total, I should say, for both sides. Bridge with Williams pressuring, got rid of the football, incomplete. Dante Parker, the junior from Texas, was the intended target, and 4th and long coming up. The punt unit will be coming out on another 3 and out for Alcorn State. Let's see how Arturo Tamayo is going to handle it with this weather here in Shreveport, Louisiana. Obviously, we've seen what's gone down in New Orleans the last few days with Tropical Storm Lee and Tropical Storm Katia as well. Wind is playing havoc. It's blowing in on Tamayo as he gets sent to punt. Kenneth Batiste wave this one off. Still decent field positioning coming for Grambling at the 42-yard line. 7:49 to go here in this first half. Alcorn State and Grambling tied up at 7 apiece. Tiger football when we come back. Grambling football on their own 42-yard line, tied at 7. And on a first down, it'll be a run for Jawan Martin, the freshman. 7:35 left to go in this first half. Both teams with a touchdown pass. And there is a look at Doug Williams. Second stint, but his first year in his second stint at the helm of Grambling. And a great first stint in those 6 seasons, 52-18, 31-10 in conference games. MVP of Super Bowl 22 for the Washington Redskins. Pick up a 5 on first down, 2nd and 5.
You talk about Doug Williams during that first stint at Grambling from '98 to 2003. Of course, he was following up behind the legend in Coach Eddie Robinson, over 400 career wins. So a good testament to him that you can follow up behind a guy who had that much success out of the program, and you come back and win 3 SWAC titles on your own. Of course, he left, and now he's back again, and the Grambling folks, they expect the same thing.
Well, he quoted Eddie Robinson Sr. when he was asked about regaining the success that he previously had, and he said, quoting Eddie Robinson Sr., "Credit goes to the man in the arena."
Always.
And he's saying that the players who are on the field are the ones who deserve the most credit. Kenneth Batiste out of the backfield, pushing forward, looking for a first down, and a pickup of 3. As you get a look at Eddie Robinson Sr., Long-time head coach of Grambling, one of the classy guys and a legend in college football.
And Coach Robinson, I think one of his famous quotes was he said he had the same job and the same wife for over 50 years. So that's quite a testament to him. And there's his wife Doris there, and pretty much put this university on the map. I mean, football can do that. With a 1st and 10, DJ Williams, Grambling State Tigers just got a big first down running the football.
We'll do it again with Martin. Trying to push it across the 45-yard line. Pick up a 4 on first down. 2nd and 6 coming up with a 6-minute clock here in this first half.
And I think this is what we're going to have to see out of Grambling State. Probably not just this game, but somewhat this football season until that passing game and DJ and those receivers can all get on the same page. You have a big veteran offensive line and a pretty good running back in Juwan Martin. You're going to have to try to establish your identity as a running football first and then take your chances in passing when you have those opportunities.
Movement up front. Clinton Marsh moved from the right guard spot. Or was he drawn off sides? We'll see. Let's see if it's going to go against Alcorn. Penalties early on both sides.
77, offense, 5-yard penalty. Remain 2nd down.
Sanford Banks called for the false start.
This is the stepping stone. Okay.
2nd and 11 coming up. Doug Williams, Washington Redskins team routed the Denver Broncos back in Super Bowl 22. His son DJ in his first career started quarterback on 2nd and 11. The ball comes loose on a handoff. Alcorn might have the football. Braves take over on the turnover. Tim Carter jumped on the football. The 6'3" junior from Los Angeles gives Alcorn State the possession with 5:08 to go.
Yeah, first turnover in the football game. The first big break goes to Alcorn. You see just a downhill power running play. Oh, he fumbled the ball, but that was a big hit by the Grambling defender. And 52 was able to jump on that football, so we'll see what Alcorn comes up with. Maybe they have a sudden change play, take a shot deep. You're right at that 50-yard mark after that turnover.
Maola Maluga had the contact, and Carter was able to jump on the football. And now Brandon Bridge has got a 53-yard touchdown pass in this game. The sophomore from Canada takes over with excellent field position for Alcorn, but they have struggled offensively outside of that touchdown pass. A lot of 3-and-outs. Bridge with the pocket collapsing, escapes, a flag is thrown. To the edge, gets away from another tackler and is out inside of the 40-yard line, but that flag might bring this play back for Alcorn State. See what this penalty is and if it's going to negate a run of 15 yards.
Yeah, Melvin Spears, they wanted to take a shot deep, but Grambling, they came out with a 4-deep coverage in anticipation of that with the sudden change.
67, offense, 10-yard penalty, replay, 2nd down.
Cornelius Brown on the penalty, junior from Greenville, South Carolina.
1st down.
And this will push it back. With under 5 minutes to go, you get a look at Melvin Spears Jr. Might be wondering why he wears those glasses, and Doug Williams actually kind of talked to us a little bit about it. You know, it's kind of dark here in Louisiana. Why is he wearing them? But Spears is very sensitive to light. As a matter of fact, Doug was telling us that when they were kids, he had really sensitive eyesight. He actually almost lost his eyesight when he was a child, and he's very sensitive to light. So unless he's in a dark room, he's got to wear those glasses. After the holding penalty, 1st and 20. Big stick in the backfield. Anthony Williams gets popped. Jacardi Carter and a loss of 4. 2nd and 24 coming. And the Grambling defense continues to pressure.
Yeah, the redshirt sophomore from Northside High School out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Lucky that Alcorn was able to hold on to the football. Just a textbook tackle. He lowers his shoulder, keeps his head up, and drives his feet. And that's what you want to see out your linebackers.
You had a look at Carter, who did a great job out of the linebacker spot, putting pressure on Bridge a season ago. Doug Williams spoke very highly of Carter. Pitch goes to Walker. Not much room after the 30-yard line. It's going to be a loss. And second down. And now third and a country mile to go with under 4 minutes left in this first half.
And this is what Doug Williams wanted to see out of his defense. He really challenged them in the spring and in the fall. We need you guys to carry this football team until this young offense can get things going. And that front seven, if you watch them, they're playing knock-em-back football. They're really resetting the line of scrimmage on the Alcorn State Brave offensive side of the ball. So you like that when you can control the run with your front seven. It allows you to do a lot of things in the coverage aspect. And now in this third and long situation, definitely favors Grambling. We'll see if they put some pressure on the quarterback.
Illegal block. Below the waist. Number 6 on offense. That's 15 yards from the previous spot. End of the run. Replay, second down.
After all that, this will make it a second down. It was going to bring up third down and very long. But now second and 39 to go for Alcorn State.
And keep in mind, this was a turnover where Alcorn got the ball at the 50-yard line. So a great job by this Grambling defense coming on and setting the tone after a sudden change.
From the 17-yard line, Bridge will dump it off. Short pass for Arnold Walker. Trey Williams and the rest of the Grambling defense able to catch up. Jamarcus Savage finishing off a tackle on a gain of just 2 yards. And now third and 37 coming up for Alcorn State, which is so far 0 for 4 on third down.
Well, I think it's a pretty good chance that they'll be 0 for 5 in this situation. But I tell you, after those 2 big pass plays, one by the quarterback from Alcorn, Eric Canada, and then DJ responded, it's been all defense after that.
Right.
I mean, both of these defenses have really turned it up a notch. Grambling, Alcorn getting the turnover. Now Grambling's defense coming up at a 3rd and 10. Now you're in a 3rd and 30. So that's 20 yards of losses from penalties and bad plays. So the defenses have really stepped up their game in the second quarter.
They'll keep it on the ground with Walker, spinning to try to get any extra yardage for the punter Arturo Tamaya. They'll push the football out to about the 25-yard line, and now fourth down coming. And Grambling, no matter what, you would think would have good field position, but Tamaya's already let go of a solid punt in this game. Had a 70-yard punt earlier in this ball game, so Tamaya will let loose. And there is Kenneth Batiste back to return. Bobbled snap. Tamaya, a line drive kick. It'll be waved out and out of bounds right around the 45-yard line, and Grambling is going to take over. We're tied at 7 with 2 minutes to go here in this first half. And we welcome you into our broadcast booth as well here from Shreveport, Louisiana. Adam Amin, Eddie Robinson Jr. And so far, DJ Williams, Brandon Bridge have the 2 big touchdown strikes. Outside of that, like you mentioned, defense has been king so far in the opener of the SWAC season.
Well, somebody's going to have to come up and make a big play either in the pass game once again. Both teams are trying to establish that offensive identity running the football, but the defenses are having none of that.
Now, so far in this ball game, we've seen a lot of 3-and-outs from Alcorn State. We've seen a lot of penalties. It really does look like an opener with a couple of young teams so far today.
Yeah, a little bit of sloppy play, offsides, those type of things, but the teams are playing hard. I mean, it's going to take a big turnover or another big pass play for someone to kind of establish themselves and make a big play. I don't think it's going to need a lot of points to win this football game.
First down for Grambling's offense, and DJ Williams will take over with excellent field position. This is going to be a great lesson. 2 minutes on the clock, good field position, tie ball game. Not necessarily a crunch time spot, but this could be a good learning experience for DJ Williams, you'd think, as a freshman.
Yeah, I would think so, because you're getting into a situation where the worst case scenario, you want to go into the half at 7-7. You never want a turnover, but in this situation, let's try to drive down, get a field goal, maybe a touchdown, but I don't want to put my defense back on the field again. So protect the football, manage the clock, and end the rest of this half in good note.
Doug Williams, veteran quarterback in the NFL, was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously the great run with Washington. Was in the Tampa Bay front office as a scout for a while and was a personnel executive. Actually took over as a GM for a UFL organization, but came back and signed a 4-year contract in February to become the coach for his second stint at Grambling. And I think he's relishing the fact that he gets to coach his son. DJ had already made the decision that he was going to sign with Grambling. He had an opportunity to maybe go to Western Carolina and decided, you know what, I'm going to go to Grambling. And then about a month later, that's when Doug was hired as the head coach. 1st and 10, best Grambling starting position of the day, and Mario Lewis is going to pick up some good yardage. Out to the 34-yard line, stopped by Jason Owens, and a first down pass, and first down coming up with 1:53 left.
Great way to start a drive. Most teams run the draw screen. You run that quick wide receiver screen, get the big guys out blocking.
No huddle. And Kenneth Batiste gets the call past the 25-yard line. Owens again in on the play after a gain of 8. So 2nd and short coming up. And Grambling already moving the football efficiently on these first couple of plays.
Now, if you're DJ Williams, one thing you have to realize, protect the football at all costs. You don't want any negative plays. No sacks to take you out of field goal range.
A minute and a half and 1 timeout for Grambling. Four wide on this possession. Maxwell and Phillips are on the top of your screen. Maxwell has the touchdown reception in this game from DJ Williams, tied it at 7. 2nd and short, screen to Phillips. 4th catch of the day for Phillips. Laron Trigg stopped him after a gain of 1. 3rd and short with under a minute left in the first half.
A great job defensively by Alcorn, tackling on the edges and recognizing that you're trying to run the quick screen on the outside. We'll see if Alcorn decides to bring pressure on a lot of these 3rd down situations. They've been bringing pressure on the young quarterback.
It'll be a handoff. Batiste spun down with a pickup on the play of 14 yards, but a flag is thrown. Let's get a look at this.
The inside handoff. Great job by the guard with the double team block and coming up to the linebacker. And then you see an unnecessary hit right there. And of course, the referee always sees that. And that may be a dead ball fall at the end of that play.
After the play, personal foul. 94 of the defense. At the distance to the goal line. 1st and goal.
Paola Maluga, freshman from American Samoa, is a very sought-after prospect. Gone for the personal foul penalty. It is a dead ball penalty, and there's been some updates to the rules this season in NCAA football about unsportsmanlike and things of that nature, more specifically with live ball penalties, so more so celebrations and things like that on touchdowns. That's your standard personal foul that'll push the football to the 5. 1st and goal, and an opportunity at the end of this first half for DJ Williams to have his team in front in his first career collegiate game. Plenty of options on 1st down, incomplete. Van Phillips looking for pass interference. Jason Owens on the coverage. Williams got knocked down by Robert Gainwell at the end of that play.
Yeah, Gainwell with the pressure right up the middle. Looked like he's just about coming untouched with the late blitz. And DJ, give him credit. He's standing in there and delivering the football and taking the big hit. And that wide receiver, man, he got 2 hands on the football. You want to see him make that catch and help out your quarterback.
Van Phillips has been the favorite target so far in this ball game today for DJ Williams. Timeout is called. It's an Alcorn State timeout on 2nd and goal from the 5. DJ Williams with a very solid offensive line, but already 4 sacks allowed. This is a front line in Grambling last year that allowed the 2nd fewest sacks in SWAC conference play.
Well, see, last year they were running that read option style attack, and so they weren't passing the ball down the field quite as much. But DJ, I mean, they'll bounce back from that and realize that if we protect this guy, they give him protection, he can throw the ball down the field and make plays.
Monday, Jesse Palmer and David Pollack provide an engaging and interactive look at the past week's action and set the scene for the upcoming week's big games. Strap yourself in for an entertaining and opinionated 3-hour college football forum, the Palmer and Pollack Show on ESPNU at 1 and 10 Eastern on Monday. College football lives here every day on ESPNU. Grambling trying to punch in a score with just 5 yards needed to try to take a lead. 53-yard touchdown pass from Brandon Bridge to Terrence Lewis to give Alcorn State the opening score, and then DJ Williams a 23-yard strike to Bakari Maxwell to tie the game. Williams, the son of Doug Williams.
And we'll see in this situation, I mean, defensive coordinator Mike Roach from Alcorn State if he brings pressure. I mean, they like to bring a lot of pressure on DJ, and he's shown if you don't blitz him and you give him time in the pocket, he will hurt you.
Alcorn showing pressure. Batiste cuts one way and the other, and it's going to be a loss. Jamison Knox out of the secondary, able to charge in, but there is a penalty marker thrown on the play, perhaps. And there's a couple of flags down, one inside of the 5 and one back at the 9-yard line. See a couple of markers down, but may not be a flag on the play, and it may have just been an incidental flag thrown on the play. So no penalty marker, although we have seen a handful of penalties in this ball game. But 3rd and goal coming up now for Grambling with 9 seconds left.
Then you have to tell DJ Williams in this situation, rule number 1 is that you don't take a sack. There's only 10 seconds left in the football game. There's nothing wrong with throwing the football away, coming into the game, kicking a field goal, taking a 10-7 lead. So he has to realize with no timeouts and 10 seconds left in the football game, you either throw it in the end zone or you throw it away.
3rd and goal from the 7-yard line. Batiste is the lone back. Williams for the end zone, the lead. Mario Lewis, touchdown. The senior from New Orleans had 1 touchdown all season long last year. He picks up an early score, and DJ Williams, in his first career collegiate game, has given Grambling the late first half lead.
I tell you, DJ Williams is showing a lot of heart because he took another big hit from the backside on that play. But Mario Lewis coming up with that touchdown was a great throw and catch to give Grambling State the lead.
Zoltan Riazo, after the 7-yard touchdown, gives Grambling a 7-point lead. DJ Williams, his father Doug said the only pressure on a man is the pressure he puts on himself. Looked very smooth on that particular toss to Lewis.
They're going to the back pylon, putting air under the football. Great job by Mario Lewis, beating his man with the one-on-one coverage and making the play for the touchdown, the go-ahead score.
Terrence Lewis, who had a touchdown earlier in this game, was on the coverage. He said they need leadership, Grambling. And DJ Williams is going to get the respect, especially from his wide receivers who have taken to him during spring practice and now in fall camp coming into this opening ball game. But Mario Lewis, they say he's one of the guys that is going to be a leader on this team. If anybody is going to take the reins, it's going to be Mario Lewis. And that looks like a pretty good tandem right now, Lewis and Williams.
And every season takes on a different tone. And this is the first game of the year. So you have to see, okay, what kind of team are we going to be? Who's going to step up and be our playmakers and be our leaders? It's hard to be a leader if you're not a playmaker. So DJ Williams is out there making plays. Mario Lewis is out there making plays. Once you start making plays on the football field, then you can insert yourself in a leadership position.
Solid passing numbers so far when he's had time. And we said he's been hurt, he's been sacked, but when he's had the time, he's looked pretty good in the pocket.
And that'll be the adjustment going into the second half. Alcorn State has done a good job of blitzing DJ Williams, confusing him, had a lot of players just running free. So we'll see if they increase that pressure in the second half, because if you give him time, he's shown that he can throw touchdown passes.
Riazo to kick off. Terrence Lewis. And whistle blows that play dead. His knee was on the ground. Lewis, with 3 seconds left, he and the Alcorn State Braves will take the field. We'll see if they just finish off this half. Grambling got the football with 2 minutes left in that first half. In 1:56, they're able to go down to the other end and score. Alcorn State offensively has struggled. There is a distinctive difference in what we've seen from these two offenses. Grambling has been able to move the football much better. Gabriel Fleming is down on the field. They're checking out Fleming.
Well, both offensive have sputtered in his first half, but I think Grambling has done a good job of getting just enough out of that quarterback position and making a couple of big plays here and there and stringing a couple good plays together so you can complete a drive, where Alcorn seems to have a good play and a negative play, or a good play and a penalty, and they haven't been able to string together another good plays to complete a drive and put points on the board. And Alcorn, I mean, so far only 1 first down the entire afternoon. So I mean, they're getting it, but they're getting to the 3rd and long situations. I mean, you start having penalties and offsides and bad plays, and now you're in a 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. It's hard to complete or convert 3rd down situations when you're that far back.
Fleming being helped off the field. 6'1", 202-pound redshirt senior from Grambling, Louisiana, one of the hometown kids. Grambling only about an hour away from Shreveport. This might be our final play of the first half. Brandon Bridge will take the knee. And after his Braves had a 7-0 lead to start, Doug Williams and his son, the freshman quarterback DJ, able to take a 14-7 lead on Melvin Spears Jr. and the Alcorn State Braves in the opener of the SWAC football season. You're watching ESPNU College Football Primetime, presented by McDonald's in Shreveport, Louisiana. And the opener of the SWAC football season, Grambling leading Alcorn State 14-7 at halftime. Alongside Eddie Robinson Jr., Adam Amin on hand. Very impressive work from a couple of young quarterbacks. Brandon Bridge, the sophomore for Alcorn State, but DJ Williams in his first career start, a freshman quarterback playing under the auspices of his father, Doug Williams, the Super Bowl MVP. He performed pretty well in that first half.
We have to like what DJ Williams did from the quarterback position. 10-14, but he also has the big 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's what you really like. And I also like the way he stood in there and he took the punishment. He took the big hits from the other team, and he still threw the strikes down the field.
Well, let's take a look at how Grambling got to a better state in that first half, brought to you by State Farm.
Well, we started off here with the fade route going down the sideline. DJ Williams going up top to Bakari Maxwell for the early score. Then right before the end of the half, he goes up once again to Mario Lewis for his 2nd touchdown of the day. And trust me, he's been in a football game. The guys took some big hits, but he's staying in the pocket. He's throwing with confidence. We look at the stats. Grambling, a lot more plays with 36 plays, only the 1 turnover by Alcorn State. But the rushing yards, Grambling with 42 and Alcorn is -10. I think that may be the big difference. Grambling has done a better job of establishing the running game.
See only 1 first down in the first half from Alcorn State, and Grambling moving the football much more efficiently than the Braves did in that opening half of play. And a 7-point halftime lead for the Tigers on top of one of their rivals in the SWAC. Doug Williams, 2nd stint, 1st season of his 2nd stint as the head coach of Grambling. 7th year overall as the head of the Tigers, and getting to coach his young son, DJ Williams, against this Alcorn State team. Talked about the pressure that DJ might be facing. Doug Williams said it's not the pressure of necessarily being the son of Doug Williams, the Super Bowl MVP. It's the pressure of being the quarterback as a freshman at a program like Grambling, and to have to go into a conference game to start your college career. That's how the SWAC does it. It's got to be a pretty interesting scenario for DJ Williams to step into.
Well, if anybody can handle it, you have to think that DJ Williams was in a position to handle this. I mean, he's been a ball boy at this Grambling State program with Doug Williams, his dad, probably his whole life. So he knows about the program. He knows about this big game. You know, but one thing Doug said, he's been in big games on the sideline and as a ball boy, but he hasn't been in front of 20,000 people where he has to take the snap and throw the football. So far, I think he's handled that pressure pretty well.
And as Eddie mentioned, he is stuck in the pocket and has completed passes with a lot of pressure against him in this ball game so far tonight. 10-14. A 14-7 Grambling lead. Let's take a look at tonight's Bringing the Flavor, brought to you by McDonald's. During the college football season, obviously, you get the pageantry, you get the excitement, you get all the fan support, a lot of tailgating here today in Shreveport, Louisiana. But one thing that you really got to like about HBCU football specifically is the halftime shows.
Yeah, you get some great band coverage. And that's one thing Coach Robinson always said, you know, we have to sell more than just the football team. We have to sell the band. We have to sell the cheerleaders. We have to sell the whole HBCU experience. And come into this type of football game, you really get your money's worth. A lot of value for a family of 4.
Jaquez Caldwell, freshman out of Dallas, Texas, ready to return. A lot of excitement leading up to this opener in 2011. Grambling coming off a very solid season where they finished second only Texas Southern, the eventual SWAC champion. And Alcorn State trying to bounce back after a 5-6 season when they went 4-5 in conference play. Zoltan Riazo to kick off. This one is going to stay in bounds for the time being, and it has to be picked up by Terrence Lewis. Boy, that ball did some kind of tiptoe act down the sidelines, nearly went out of bounds, so it would have been a legal procedure penalty. Instead of being in a pretty good field position for Alcorn State, it's back at the 10-yard line.
That's a tough break for Alcorn State and Terrence Lewis. I mean, he played that right. You want to see if that ball can go out of bounds, but it didn't. So he had to do the next best thing, was pick it up and just make something happen. But Alcorn State is coming into this this third quarter backed up on their own 10-yard line with the wind blowing hard into their face. I don't think the rain is going to be as big a factor in this second half as the wind, which is blowing from left to right. Alcorn has the wind now, but in the fourth quarter they will not.
Brandon Bridge last season against Grambling threw for 404 yards. Not as impressive here tonight against a very good Grambling defense. Anthony Williams, the tail of the tandem, getting the call on first down. He's stacked up shy of the line of scrimmage. Loss of 1 on the play, and you see those linebackers right away getting into the act. Jerron Spencer, the senior from Alabama, getting in on the tackle to start off this second half.
This Grambling defense, they're really exerting their will. I mean, going into the third quarter after that one big pass play by Brandon Bridge for the touchdown, the defense of Grambling has really taken control of the line of scrimmage, moving Alcorn back. So you're going to have to come out with some stretch plays, maybe some quick pass plays, something to kind of move this defense off of that line of scrimmage, some play action, so they don't just tee off on your running backs, because they're playing the run extremely hard right now.
2nd and 11. Toss play goes wide for Alcorn State. Ruben Duckworth, a freshman from Mount Olive, getting the call on 2nd down. We've seen a trio of running backs in this ballgame for Alcorn State. Both of these teams trying to replace solid running backs. Frank Warren, one of the greatest in SWAC history, but Alcorn State has to replace Gabriel Nash, who ran for over 600 yards last year. Second to him was Brandon Bridge, who ran for just over 600 yards. He was second to Nash last year. There's a big gap in the running game for Alcorn State. We saw that in the first half.
Yeah, big gap in the running game, especially when you're going against a stingy defense like Grambling State. So now you're in a 3rd down situation, and we'll see if the Braves can convert.
For the first time tonight. Bridge in the pocket, time to throw, lofts one to the sideline. 4th down coming up as Terrence Lewis was unable to squeeze it. You saw a handful of 3-and-outs in that first half from Alcorn State, and Grambling able to force another one to start the second.
Great job by the Grambling defense coming in and stopping the run on 1st and 2nd down. That's what they want to do. They want to stop the run, force Alcorn State to pass on 3rd and long, and then you play good solid defense and you have your punt return team back on the field. You get another possession.
Edward Patterson had the coverage, and now Kenneth Batiste try to get his hands on one. He's waiting back at his own 45. Grambling has had great field position all night long. Arturo Tamayo from the end zone. Good protection. We'll take a friendly bounce. It bounced around the 45-yard line. It'll push back to around the 34 or so. And Grambling will take over for its first offensive possession of the second half. Well, Grambling is just about an hour east of Shreveport, Louisiana, and obviously with Grambling State, it's got a lot of history. The Eddie Robinson Museum on campus at Grambling. My partner had a chance to go there earlier today, and there's so much to look at the Eddie Robinson Museum.
Well, Coach Robinson, here's a guy that is pretty much the epitome of what it means to be a great coach and a great American and a great citizen. And they've done him justice with this Eddie Robinson Museum. If you're anywhere close on I-20 in Shreveport, you need to check it out.
Martin on the handoff on first down, a couple of yards on the pickup. And this is what we got a chance to look at earlier today, some photos, and that's a very interesting collage there too.
That is, that collage right before the Doug Williams jersey. That's all of the players from Grambling who went on to play in the NFL. And that was just one side of the wall. There was another side that I couldn't take a picture of. And I was like, man, I can't believe it's that many players who went to the NFL. And there's, of course, is Eddie Robinson Jr., who was an assistant coach at Grambling and is a big supporter of the program.
2nd and 10. Martin the carry, and grabbed at his ankles by Kenny Roby. We saw Eddie Robinson Jr. down on the field. We've got Eddie Robinson Jr. up in the booth, and you guys had a chance to meet a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, I know Coach Eddie Robinson Sr. and Jr., of course, and his wife Doris. So very familiar with the family from my days playing in the conference and at Alabama State. Just two classy guys. And I mean, Prussia, he loves this university just as much as his dad did. I mean, the Robinson family and Grambling State University pretty much goes hand in hand.
Eddie Robinson Sr., 59 years at the helm of the Grambling program. And as we've already discussed, he pretty much put this Grambling program on the map. One of the icons of Southern football and SWAC football specifically. A lot of penalty flags in the first half. This will be another delayed game.
On the offense, 5-yard penalty, remain 3rd down.
This has been one of the kinks that DJ Williams has tried to work out. That's the 4th delay of game penalty. You said those penalties are against the whole offense.
I think it is. It starts from the coach and from him getting the play into the quarterback communicating it to the players and getting up to the line of scrimmage and getting the ball snapped. Something that's easily correctable, but for tonight, those 4 penalties, that's really hurts. You go from a 3rd and 9 to a 3rd and 14. It's just that much harder to convert in those situations.
A 3rd and long coming up from the 29-yard line. Pressure coming, screen thrown. Kenneth Batiste pushing past the 35-yard line. It'll be a pickup of 8 and 4th down coming up. So both teams will punt on their opening possessions here in this second half. Alcorn State's defense not played poorly. We've seen kind of a herky-jerky game so far. A lot of penalties, young quarterbacks, offenses kind of in new sets. So things still a little rough to start off this 2011 season. Terrence Lewis, who had the touchdown reception in the first half for Alcorn State, back to return at his own 20. Fabian Carter had pressure coming. Got rid of the football and just shy of the 30-yard line, just past the 25. On a 37-yard punt is where Alcorn State will take over. 10:23 to go here in this 3rd quarter. Doug Williams and the Grambling offense unable to come up with anything here in the second half to start.
Here's to the things that keep us comfortable. Good friends, loyal dogs, and a pair of great fitting jeans. Wrangler 5-star premium denim jeans for long-lasting.
You're watching Dick's Sporting Goods Kickoff Week at ESPNU's College Football Primetime, presented by McDonald's. Alcorn State has the football down by 7 on first down. Terrence Lewis to the 30-yard line, spinning at the 35. Room to run for Terrence Lewis into Grambling territory. 24 yards on Alcorn State's second drive here in this second half.
And that's the first down of the game. Correct, second first down of the game. So I mean, you have to have some offensive continuity if you're Alcorn. You need some big plays, sure, but you have to just try to get 2 and 3 and 4 plays that are good plays and string them together so you can start moving the ball down the field.
Well, Brandon Bridge, who connected with Lewis in the first half for a touchdown, takes over inside of Grambling territory. It is Arnold Walker, and he lost the football shy of midfield. Grambling State saying they have the football, and out of the bottom of the pile, it's Antonio Leonard coming out with a football.
Just the inside handoff. Not sure where the ball came out, but Antonio Leonard doing a great job. Yeah, a big hit there in the middle of the pile, and Antonio Leonard doing a great job of wrestling for the football. And that's pretty much summarizes the offensive night of Alcorn. You have one big play, then you follow it up with a mistake. You just can't get any type of continuity going to string a couple plays together to make something good happen.
The Southern Miss transfer punched it out and then recovered it. Kenneth Batiste is in the backfield for DJ Williams out of the shotgun from midfield. Great field position. He'll fire on first down. Van Phillips, his 5th catch of the day, and he's out at the 25. Beat Jaquez Caldwell on the coverage. Phillips has been DJ Williams' favorite target in his first career collegiate football game.
He's been looking at 83 quite often. Just a nice touch route right on the sideline, keeping it there.
On first down, looking to the sidelines again. Bakari Maxwell inside of the 10-yard line. Maxwell had a touchdown in the first half, and he sets up 1st and goal for Grambling.
You know, we asked Doug Williams, the head coach at Grambling, would you have any hurry-up plays in those type of situations, which I didn't think he really would because he had such a young quarterback. And he's not really doing a pure no-huddle, but he's just speeding up the tempo a little and getting some plays in for DJ to make him feel comfortable.
Grambling with 2 big plays of over 20 yards, forcing an Alcorn State timeout. Do you think these couple of big plays have really given DJ Williams that confidence? Do you think it's given Doug Williams the confidence in DJ Williams?
Well, I think both of these guys, DJ and Doug, feel like he can go out there and make plays. Here is a really nice back shoulder throw. I mean, him and the receivers on the same page. Remember, he was there. He's a freshman quarterback, but he did go through spring practice with Grambling. And you have to have that time in between you and your receiver. And Bakari Maxwell, who already has a touchdown on the day, really in sync with the quarterback, DJ Williams.
And it was Caldwell who was beaten twice, the freshman. He was beaten by Van Phillips on one play, and then Maxwell with that athletic catch on the second play. So all of a sudden, a drive that started at midfield is inside of the 10-yard line and at the 5. We saw this at the end of the first half. DJ Williams got the ball with good field position and 2 minutes to go. Put home a touchdown. Now he's going to try to give Grambling a 2-score lead.
Yeah, the difference between Alcorn and Grambling, Alcorn has a good play and they followed up with a couple bad ones, where Grambling has had their bad plays, but they followed up a couple of good plays, just enough to complete a drive and put the ball in the end zone.
And Caldwell is out. Desmond Stevenson, the freshman, is now into the cornerback spot. Pitch to the outside. Touchdown, Grambling, Kenneth Batiste. 5-yard TD for number 5 and a 2-score Grambling lead early in the 3rd quarter. His first career rushing touchdown.
Great job by number 5, Kenneth Batiste, just coming around the corner. What you can't see is 83, Van Phillips, the wide receiver, had a crushing block from the wide receiver position and pretty much pinned in that entire Alcorn defense to free up that touchdown going around the end for number 5, Kenneth Batiste.
Riazzo only missed 4 extra points all of last season. He's knocked home 3, and it's 21 unanswered points for Grambling. They strike from 49 yards in 22 seconds to go up 21-7. Kenneth Batiste had 3 receptions for touchdowns last season, but the redshirt senior from Lafayette, Louisiana, had never brought one in on the ground until then. 21-7 Grambling up early in the 3rd.
Behind every business is a what if. What if we designed an electric motorcycle? What if we turned trash into surfboards? Whatever your what if is, the new Sprint Biz 360 has custom solutions to make it happen, including mobile payment processing, instant hotspots, and powerful devices like the Motorola Photon 4G. So let's all keep asking the big what ifs. Sprint Business Specialists can help you find the answers. Sprint, America's favorite 4G network.
ESPN News College Football Primetime is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And by the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event now through September the 6th. See your Lexus dealer. Grambling with an early touchdown here in the 3rd quarter from Kenneth Batiste and a 21-7 Tiger lead on Alcorn State. This has been a ball game that has seen its fair share of mistakes. Grambling has been on the side that has made fewer mistakes so far tonight.
That's a perfect way to describe it. I was about to say the same thing. I mean, it's pretty much been a game of fewest mistakes. And although Grambling has had their mistakes and their penalties, they haven't had as many as Alcorn. And they took advantage of the fumble by Alcorn and put points on the board.
And great field position to do it as well. Terrence Lewis from his own 18. Looking for space. Caldwell trying to give him a block. Get an extra couple of yards to the 25-yard line. Kenneth Batiste, his first career rushing touchdown here.
Yeah, let's set it up. You see Van Phillips, number 83, at the bottom of the screen by the number 10. He comes in and has this crack block on the linebacker, and that pretty much frees up that entire corner. And all Kenneth Batiste has to do is walk across the line of scrimmage. You know, it's always good when you see a receiver in 83, Van Phillips. He has those 5 receptions on the day, but he still goes out there and does the dirty work and is able to throw a block to free up the touchdown for Kenneth Batiste. A team effort by that Grambling offense.
Batiste, the Lafayette, Louisiana native, putting it in to give Grambling a 14-point lead. Brandon Bridge from the 25-yard line. Got the defense off guard. An athletic leap to the 35. We'll see where they spot it. Probably the 34. Cliff Exuma was able to upend him after a gain of 8. 2nd and 2 coming up, and Alcorn State has struggled offensively today.
Yeah, 9 drives, 22 plays, and no drive more than 3 plays. Of course, they had the touchdown, which they scored really quick, but they haven't had any type of offensive continuity.
Throw to the sideline, quick pop. Simon Collier was able to make the stick, but good effort defensively by David Stuckman, but a first down catch.
And I like what Alcorn State is doing. They're starting to speed up the tempo. Let's not huddle up. Let's change something. Let's do something different to try to pick up the pace a little. Let's complete the short passes and just get a couple of successful plays under our belt and get a couple first downs.
Handoff goes to Ruben Duckworth. Flag is thrown on the play as he was stopped right around the 40. So first half with a ton of penalties.
Personal foul, face mask, on the defense, number 91, 15-yard penalty, first down.
8 penalty on Grambling. Devon Carter got his hands in on there on Duckworth.
Well, you know what? That's one of those plays to me was kind of like an effort penalty, and you don't mind when the guy makes that type of penalty because he's trying to make a play with one arm, and he's just grabbing for anything, and he grabbed the face mask. So as a coach, you can say I can somewhat live with that as opposed to just a late hit or some unnecessary roughness penalty where you hit a guy out of bounds.
I think with 8 penalties, you kind of have to make some kind of play at some point, right? 1st and 10 for Bridge. Fires to the far side. Caught by Anthony Williams out of the backfield and wrestled down. Be a pickup of 4. Grambling with a 21-7 lead, and Grambling is going to be competing for the SWAC title out of the West. Alcorn out of the East. Both selected to be high up in their divisions. And our Facebook question on Facebook.com/ESPNU. We want to know who you think is going to win the SWAC title this year. Texas Southern, the defending champions.
And with the East-West format that the SWAC has, of course, you have that big championship game in Birmingham in December. So who knows? These two teams could tee it off once again.
Blitz coming from Williams. Able to apply pressure on Bridge. Bridge able to get rid of the football, and Lewis almost had a pickup near the 15. Just out of his reach. And 3rd and 5 coming up. Bridge able to use his feet to keep that play alive.
I think Brandon Bridge is going to have to take over this football game. Eric Canada is going to have to take off and do some exciting things to get this Alcorn State offense moving to make some big plays. Now another 3rd down situation. They haven't had a lot of success on 3rd down, so we'll see if they do something with Bridge where they roll him out of the pocket or put the ball in his hands where he can make a big play using his feet or through the air.
There's Melvin Spears Jr. Alma mater is Alcorn State in his first season as the head coach, a former offensive coordinator under Doug Williams at Grambling when Williams had his first stint with the Tigers. 3rd down and 5. 6th play of the drive, longest of the day. Bridge nearly intercepted. David Stuckman, the redshirt senior from Gainesville, Florida, able to drive towards the football, knocked it away, and he forces 4th down.
Yeah, the receiver running that comeback route, he didn't come back. He just stopped, and that allowed the defender to cut in front and to knock the ball down. So now you're in another punt situation. Let's take a look at it here. Bridge delivers the pass, and the receiver's just standing there waiting, and the defender cuts in front of him, you have to keep coming back. And that was number 6, Toled George, the young freshman from Edna Carr High School out of New Orleans, Louisiana. He'll pick that up, but that's one of those things you have to put up with when you have the growing pains of playing a bunch of freshmen like Alcorn is trying to do on offense.
Kenneth Batiste just had a rushing touchdown. He's back to return at his own 10. Arturo Tamayo has had some boomers today. Good protection for Tamayo. And he'll pin Grambling inside of their own 20-yard line. Kirk Herbstreit High School football returns to ESPNU tomorrow with a pair of games at noon Eastern. St. Xavier takes on Pickerington Central. Then at 3:30 Eastern, Springfield and Upper Arlington. There's a lot of good high school football in the state of Ohio. You'll get a chance to see it tomorrow on ESPNU and ESPN3. DJ Williams, who's looked more like a veteran than a scared freshman today, takes over, hands off to Kenneth Batiste. He's got some room to run to the second level and finally wrapped up and brought down. William Thomas finally stopped him after 12.
I think this Grambling State offense is playing with a little more confidence, a little more swagger coming out here in this third quarter with that 21-7 lead. Look at the big guys coming off blocks. They're getting to the second level and blocking a second guy. And that's what you really like. I mean, he's breaking through tackles here. The big guys are down the field 5 and 10 yards, still making plays. When you have a 280-pounder that's willing to block a second guy, that's how you have those big, long runs on offense.
More penalty flags. It's been maybe the downside of this ball game for both sides, especially Doug Williams seeing his son perform well.
False start on the offense. Number 70. 5-yard penalty. Remain first down.
DJ Williams is doing a great job with the hard count, and he's getting the Alcorn State defense to jump off sides on a regular basis, but a couple times his own players is jumping, so it's kind of negating the effectiveness of using that hard count against his Alcorn State defense.
Both teams 9 penalties. That's 4 false starts on this Grambling front line. It's made up of a couple of seniors. On 1st and 15, DJ Williams looking to air it out into double coverage for Lewis. Pass broken up. A couple of guys were in there for the stop. Brandon Thompson, the sophomore from Tylertown, Mississippi, almost got his hands on a pick.
And the Alcorn State defense getting a little more aggressive. That time it was just with pure man coverage with a free safety high, and with their bringing the pressure from the edges. So DJ has the right read, but he has to put that ball a little bit more to the sideline and throw it sooner so the safety can't come over there and help, because 43, Brandon Thompson, almost had an interception.
Desmond Stevenson had the initial coverage on Lewis. Very young secondary, couple of freshman corners for Alcorn State. Batiste on 2nd and 15 out to the 35. Pickup of 11, and this is a very good second down play because it sets up a 3rd down and manageable with 6 minutes to go.
Everybody likes to run the draw and screen on 2nd and long. Good job by Grambling executing the screen play. Now you get into a 3rd down situation where your quarterback can convert. Now I would expect that Alcorn would bring blitz, bring pressure on this situation, because when they've sat back and let DJ Williams complete passes or not make him feel uncomfortable in the pocket, he's done a good job of completing passes. They've had a lot more success when they've brought pressure against a young quarterback.
Juwan Martin blocking out of the backfield for Williams, who fires incomplete. That'll bring up 4th down. Desmond Spivey, the intended target, and Brave is down. Courtney Sims, perhaps. That's Robert Gainwell. My apologies. A 6'1" junior from Yazoo City, Mississippi. A little shaken up on the play. He's able to get back up quickly, though.
Just running the quick out route, trying to get the 1st down. Oh, friendly fire. That happens on defense. A lot of times these defensive guys, especially these secondary guys, they try to hit you so hard that they miss everything and hit their own guy. That's happened to me quite a bit of times.
Eddie, a former linebacker at Alabama State. Played 11 seasons in the NFL. Laron Trigg was on the other side of that hit. Terrence Lewis is on the other side of this punt on 4th and 4. Fabian Carter, left footer. Good coverage here by Grambling. So set it up at the 22-yard line for Alcorn State. A 43-yard punt from Fabian Carter. Just over 5 minutes to go here in this third quarter. A 14-point lead for Grambling. They'll take over, and Doug Williams seen some pretty good things from baby boy today. DJ Williams takes over when you come back. Darius Smith, the sophomore from Mansfield, Texas. 21-7, Grambling on top. Alcorn State taking over just past its own 20, and a new quarterback into the ball game. Darius Smith, the sophomore from Mansfield, Texas. Anthony Williams, the freshman from Louisiana, with a solid run on first down. Picks up 22 yards, and it's a nice introduction for Darius Smith into the ball game. Smith last season played in 6 games for Alcorn State. Only threw 25 passes a season ago, completed 8 of them, did not have a touchdown, had just over 100 yards. He'll throw here on 1st and 10. No, he won't. Pressure will come, and he'll be swallowed up. Stuart Hine had the initial pressure. A senior from Orange, California, able to put the heat on Smith. 3rd and long coming up after a loss of 6, or 2nd down, I should say. My apologies. 2nd and 16 coming up for Smith and the Braves.
Well, I tell you, this Grambling defense, regardless of who the quarterback is, they're consistent with the pressure they're bringing, and they're doing it with the front 4. So it's always a luxury, and you can bring pressure with those 4 guys up front and still have coverage. So now Darius Smith is facing a 2nd and long. You want to get half of this back. You know, at least get 7 or 8 yards so you can get into a 3rd down situation and then try to convert and keep this drive alive.
And a couple of new men up front on that front 4. And for Grambling, a moment you just saw David Smith pointing out the front line for Alcorn State.
Number 71, 5-yard penalty, remain 2nd down.
And Jacoby Rose twitched a little bit.
And Alcorn just continuing with what's been their problem this game. And they come out with the big play, 10 penalties already. But yeah, you come out with the big 1st down play for 20 yards, and then 2nd down you take a sack. Then you come back with a penalty, so now it's 2nd and long once again. So you just can't get enough of good plays in a row to make something happen.
You've been saying that all night. Good play, followed up with a mistake. That's been the issue all night long for Alcorn State. And another 3rd and 20-plus situation for the Braves. With a new quarterback in Smith. Gets rid of the football, and he overthrows Anthony Williams. Penalty marker on this particular play. Trey Williams on the coverage for Grambling.
Holding on the offense, number 61. 10-yard penalty, remain 2nd down.
Avis Shelton, a senior from West Point, Mississippi. That's going to push it back even further.
And we'll see if Brandon Bridge, he's taking a series off. Maybe they just want him to kind of sit on the side for a second, you know, settle down, relax, see what's happening. Look at the speed of the game, but I would expect that he should come back into this ball game. I think he gives them the best chance to put points on the board.
2nd and 31. Smith, pressure from behind, ball comes loose. David Smith off the edge was able to punch the ball away from Darius Smith. And Alcorn State able to jump back on the football and recover.
The young quarterback Darius Smith, the pressure from Grambling. This is just a front 4 rush. These are 4 guys just going after the quarterback with good coverage down the field with the sack, knocking it out from the back. Alcorn Ford is fortunate to get on that football, and now they're going to go back with Brandon Bridge. I think he gives them the best chance to put points on the board, so we'll see what he can do in this 3rd and forever situation.
2nd time we've seen over 30 yards on a 3rd down to go, and they will not get anything near that. They'll get 1 as Simon Collier gets the pass from Bridge, and a 4th down coming up, and another punt for Arturo Tamayo, who's had a very busy night tonight. Get a look at Jacardi Carter on the defensive stop.
And Melvin Spears is just fortunate to be able to punt in this situation. I mean, Alcorn, with those 3 plays, the penalties, they have a good play and a couple bad plays. So I think they just need to settle down and just try to complete a couple passes. I mean, Brandon Bridge has done it last year. He can do it again this year. You have to have that good drive so you can get that confidence and that good feeling going once again.
Great punt from Tamayo. Kenneth Batiste. See this one sail over his head. Could not save it. Touchback. Excellent coverage, though. A 77-yard punt from Tamayo, his second of 70 or more tonight. This Alcorn State team trailing by 14. But when we talk about SWAC football, we've talked about tradition, and some great players have gone through these ranks. Steve McNair had a phenomenal career and a tragic end to a far too short life.
Yeah, Steve McNair, he was probably one of the best to come through here. Air McNair, as they called him. I played against him when I was at Alabama State, and I was fortunate enough to have him on my team with the Tennessee Titans for quite some time, and this guy was as tough as they come. You talk about nicknames in the SWAC conference throughout the history. You have, of course, Sweetness. Walter Payton goes on the top of that list. Willie Satellite Totten, the quarterback for Jerry Rice, who was Jerry World Rice. Paul Tank Younger. Of course, James Shaq Harris, who was a great quarterback here at Grambling State. So to have an Air Canada is so fitting for the Alcorn State Braves quarterback. I mean, if you're a great player in the conference, you have to have a great nickname to go with it.
It's part of the culture of the SWAC and football in the South in general to, you were saying, kind of have that swagger there. You build that and you earn respect. And part of that respect actually comes in the form of a nickname. And some of those great players you got a chance to look at a moment ago. Kenneth Batiste.
You take a look at the SWAC conference. I mean, it was always one of those, you know, if you look good and you feel good, then you play good. So, I mean, you had the long towels and the spats and everything else. So, and that's part of what attracted young kids to come play in this conference, because you had those wide open offenses like Jerry Rice with Archie Gunslinger Cooley, the coach from Mississippi Valley, of course. You know, Marino Chasm down at Alcorn, he was the godfather of the conference. So everybody had their little niche, and a lot of great football players and coaches have come through the conference.
2nd and 10. Juwan Martin gets the carry. Tried to find a hole. He was plugged up quickly. That'll bring up 3rd down.
Keep in mind, as we come to the end of this 3rd quarter, the wind is actually coming into the Grambling's offense face. It's going left to right if you're looking at the screen. So they were able to put 7 points on the board, extend that lead, and they still get that win going into the 4th quarter. So, I mean, they've done everything they needed to do to continue on to the victory path in this football game.
3rd and 10 from the 13, or 3rd and 7 from the 13-yard line. Pressure coming from Alcorn State, picked up nicely by the Tigers. Athletic play from Williams, better hold on to that football. He's wrapped up and brought down by Laron Trigg. That'll take us to the end of our 3rd quarter with Grambling on top, 21-7. DJ Williams in his first career collegiate game. They said he has never taken a snap in front of this many people before. He's performed well under the bright lights in Shreveport, Louisiana tonight in the opener of the 2011 college football season. Welcome to the Big Boys Club, DJ Williams. You've done pretty well so far tonight.
Call 1-800-658-6994. That's 1-800-658-6994.
Grambling is a 21-7 lead. At one point, it was an Alcorn State lead.
Absolutely. I mean, Brandon Bridge, he started off with the big 53-yard touchdown reception to Terrence Lewis. And you think, oh, here we go with the Alcorn State Braves. But DJ Williams responded with his first career touchdown pass to Bakari Maxwell. And right before the half, he came back with another strike going down the sideline to Mario Lewis to give him a 14-point lead. And finally, to cap up the scoring, going around the left end was number 5, Kenneth Batiste. And as we stand now, it's a 21-7 Tiger lead going into the 4th quarter.
DJ Williams with a very solid performance in his first career collegiate game. 14 for 20 on the night. 4th and 1, but Grambling will punt it away. Terrence Lewis wobbling in front of his own 20-yard line and trying to get some room along the edge. Terrence Lewis popped out of bounds shy of the 45. And it'll be Alcorn State football with 14:45 to go here in this fourth quarter. Welcome into our broadcast booth. Eddie Robinson Jr., Adam Amin on hand. Pretty impressive performance from DJ Williams tonight. He's really been the story because he came in as the story. Son of Doug Williams, got that big pedigree to live up to, but so far he's done more than enough tonight to get his Grambling Tigers in front.
Absolutely. I mean, with a 21-7 lead, I mean, the pressure is what he's put on himself. He wants to be the best quarterback at Grambling State University. He's not concerned with being the son of a Super Bowl champion quarterback and all of those fancy things. And I think he's really earned the respect of his teammates tonight by taking the big hits and throwing the touchdowns and making the plays.
On 1st and 10, a throw to the flats. Not much room to run for Alcorn State. There's a lot of pageantry involved in SWAC football. We talked a little bit about the swagger, the bands, everything that's involved in the pageantry of the opening night of college football for these two teams. Talked about nicknames a little bit. Well, I had to ask. Did you have a nickname?
I guess that wasn't good enough. I didn't have a nickname. I was just a hard-working kid who was there and just played. I was actually a walk-on, so I just did everything the right way, listened to my coach, Coach Houston Markham, and was fortunate enough to play in the NFL.
Well, listen, walk on to 11 seasons in the NFL. A lot of guys will take that.
Absolutely.
Buffalo Bill to finish out his career, spent most of the run of his career at the Houston Oilers, and the Tennessee Titans, a couple years at the Jacksonville Jaguars as well for Eddie Robinson Jr. It's an injured Grambling State Tiger on this play. Looked like Ricky Joseph, the sophomore from Miami, Florida. A little bit shaken up on this play.
This is a crucial possession for Alcorn State. I mean, of course, going into this fourth quarter, you're down by 2 scores. You can't wait. And you have to pull out all the plays in the playbook. As you see Jamarcus Savage, as he's up and he's okay. That's always a good sign. But you're going to really have to pick up things, pick up the pace, pick up the tempo. And Brandon Bridge, I think, is going to have to take over this football game through the air and as well as running the football. If no one's open, he has to make big plays on the ground using his legs.
Savage steps off. And Bridge on 1st and 10. Pressure off the edge, stumbling back. Gets rid of the football for a short gain. It is Caldwell, who got burned a couple of times as a cornerback in this game. He's able to help out Brandon Bridge, who did a nice job of keeping that play alive.
A well-timed blitz by the Grambling State defense coming off the edge, but Brandon Bridge, being the athlete, recognizing that we have an unblocked player, he makes something happen and gets positive results out of the play. And the receiver takes a huge hit at the end of that play.
Jacardi Carter added the stick at the end of the play. Terrence Lewis on 2nd and 8. Moving back, he'll have a first down, still on his feet inside the 30. Near the 20-yard line. 21 yards. And Alcorn State finally stringing something together offensively, something they have not done all night long, Eddie.
Well, Terrence Lewis, I mean, out of Harmony High School in Fort Myers, and you can tell this kid is a little bit faster than the rest of them out there. Look at the footwork, how he steps back and just makes people miss. A punt returner, kick returner, so he has that excitement when he touches the ball.
Up the middle, Anthony Williams, the freshman, stacked up at the 6-yard line by Naquan Smith. It's a pickup of 14, and Williams a little shaken up. Might have got the wind knocked out of him a little bit there. That was quite a hit by Smith, the redshirt junior from Atlanta. But an opportunity for Alcorn State to pick up a big touchdown. Duckworth is in the backfield now alongside Brandon Bridge. From the 6, 1st and goal. Bridge will run into the end zone. Touchdown! Brandon Bridge brings Alcorn within a score.
We talked about nicknames, and of course Brandon Bridge, his nickname is Air Canada, and I think you just saw why. I mean, he's really taking matters into his own hands, putting this game, putting this ball into the end zone with the quarterback draw. Didn't get much blocking. But he just took over and did it himself.
Arturo Tamayo to bring it within 7. Pressure came. Tamayo got it off, and it's a one-score ball game. 7-point game after number 7 goes high in the air. Brandon Bridge did it with his feet all season long last year. You know this kid can move on his feet. Able to leap over the defense of Grambling State. It's a 7-point game in the 4th quarter from Shreveport.
Break down college football's top 25 with the experts.
We've got a ball game in the opener of our 2011 SWAC season. Dick's Sporting Goods kickoff week and college football primetime presented by McDonald's. A 21-14 Grambling lead and Alcorn State. Eddie, you mentioned it. Brandon Bridge is going to have to take over this game, trying to do it in the 4th quarter. He just put up an incredible touchdown a moment ago.
Yeah, he's that type of kid. He has that type of talent. He goes by the name of Air Canada. He showed you why. He can throw the football, but he can also run it. He's going to have to use all those skills today in order to will his team to a victory. And he's the type of kid that he can put the rest of the team on his back and get you to the end zone.
This was a play a moment ago. Design quarterback drop. Brune Foster went low, and Air Canada went very high.
Yeah, and Bruno Foster is a good defender. He's been in this conference, had a lot of big hits, had some today. But give Brandon Bridge credit. He put his eyes on the prize, and it wasn't going to be denied.
That's a pretty good kick from Tamayo into the wind. Back at the 10, it's David Stuckman out to the 30. Still on his feet somehow. Finally, they'll whistle the play dead near the 33-yard line. 23-yard return for David Stuckman. So that wind was blowing right into Tamayo, able to get a decent kickoff, good return. And now Brandon Bridge will have to watch from the sidelines as his defense looks for a stop. The Mississauga native, Southern Ontario. It's the Toronto area. Pretty good population, almost 100,000 people from Mississauga. It's not a small town. Brandon Bridge making an impact at Alcorn State's sophomore season for Bridge, trying to build off a pretty solid freshman year.
You have to wonder if that one series where coach took him out, Melvin Spears, let him sit on the sideline for a couple plays. Hey, let's see what's going on, and hey, go back out there and go get him.
Batiste in motion. He gets the handoff. Good run for Batiste. He stumbles past the first down marker. 11-yard pickup for Batiste, who's already got a touchdown in this ball game. And Batiste, another young guy trying to make an early impact in his career.
Kind of reminds me of one of those old Eddie Robinson wing T plays where you just have a guy coming in motion and just like an end around with the big guys out front pulling and making blocks. And Batiste almost broke one for a big gain.
Batiste picked up his first career rushing touchdown tonight. It's the handoff. Tripped up past the 45-yard line. 3-yard pickup, 2nd and 7 coming up. Watch BCS Countdown on ESPNU each Monday night as our experts provide an in-depth analysis of the BCS contenders and where each school stands after the first weekend of college football. BCS Countdown presented by Allstate on ESPNU, Monday at 7 Eastern.
This front 7 for Alcorn State is going to really have to step up. You can tell Grambling is going to put emphasis on ball control, running his football, taking some air out of this game. That front 7 is going to have to really step up and make some big plays. Maybe one of the best front 7s in the conference.
This is a big 2nd and 7 coming up right now.
Absolutely.
Grambling has all 3 timeouts to work with. They'll use one here. We've seen a handful of delay of game calls, 4 of them as a matter of fact on Grambling already. A new offense being put in place by Doug Williams. 2nd stint, 7th season overall as the head coach of Grambling. Drafted in 1978 in the NFL by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this Grambling team trying to push forward. A lot of all-conference selections on this Grambling team and on this Alcorn State side as well. Casey Terrio, the quarterback of Jackson State, expecting big things out of him over the course of this season. You got to look at Sanford Banks, right tackle for Grambling. He's on that list as well. And over on the defensive side of the football, Cliff Exuma came back. He's a grad student, one of the top defensive players in the league for Grambling. And Moses Ellis had 8 interceptions last year for Prairie View A&M, led all of FCS football in that category.
Yeah, a lot of good players on that defensive side of the football in the SWAC conference, and Grambling has quite a few on their front 7, and you can see that today. It's been really tough for Alcorn to try to move the football against the Tigers.
Well, out of the Grambling timeout, and again a big 2nd and 7 coming up now for the Tigers. And it gets into this time of a ball game where you pick up 3rd downs. You put a lot of pressure on the team that's trailing. Not even necessarily just third down. He's trying to move the chains on 2nd and 7. Williams, toss out to Batiste. He was about to stumble before the 50-yard line anyway. Damian Wilson, wearing 66. We saw earlier in this game wearing number 90. His jersey got torn. It's a freshman who's looked on to be huge on the front line. He's been a little quiet in this game since that first quarter.
Yeah, he started off with a ball of fire, and then he slowed down a little. Have to get used to the speed of the game and the length of the game in college. But this guy's going to be a ball player. Damian Wilson, the coach, has really talked highly of him. He came in here running a 4.56, good size, and he gets after the quarterback and makes a lot of big plays.
Big third down here, and Grambling was successful a season ago. DJ Williams trying to keep it at 50% here. 6 yards needed. Good pocket for Williams. Incomplete pass. Casey Freeman on the coverage. Johnny Hedgeman was the intended target at 4th down coming up. You said Alcorn State needs to stop. They got one. Now it's time for the offense to take over.
Yeah, right when they needed on that 3rd down play. Tough break for Grambling because the guy had possession and could have gotten the 1st down. But give Alcorn State defense credit. They needed a 3 and out, and they got it. And now Air Canada will get another chance to put points on the board and try to tie up the ball game.
Terrence Lewis is hoping to give Alcorn State some decent field position tonight as Fabian Carter will lift one. Low snap, got it off though. That's a heck of a Grambling bounce. But it's going to head into the end zone. And that was a big opportunity for Edward Patterson to try to keep Alcorn State deep inside of its own territory, but it'll be a snap at the 20 for Alcorn State, down by 7 with 10:18 to go here in this 4th quarter. Welcome to the 2011 season. ESPNU's College Football Primetime is presented to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it. And in part by the Capital One Venture Card with double miles on every purchase every day. Along the banks of the Red River, we've got a nice shootout going on here tonight. Brandon Bridge takes over with his team down 7. Number 7 past the 30-yard line. Pickup of 11 yards. Brandon Bridge led this team to a touchdown drive the last time down. They finally strung something together offensively.
Yeah, Brandon Bridge, as advertised, we know he can throw the football here with the big play to Terrence Lewis. Some nifty running to get the Alcorn State Braves in scoring position. Then he takes over by himself, throwing over the defender and getting in the end zone to cut the lead to 7 points. Still in favor of Grambling. However, Alcorn has got something working here in the 4th quarter.
Brandon Bridge a little shaken up at the end of that play, but he's fine for a 1st and 10 from the 31. Terrence Lewis near the 45-yard line. Good run on 1st down for Terrence Lewis. It'll move the chains for 12 yards. This is something that Alcorn had not done much of. He talked about stringing things together, keeping drives alive. And Lewis, who did a great job on that last drive and on that particular run, a little bit shaken up, and you saw him kind of clutch at his left hamstring for a moment there. Boy, Terrence Lewis, Melvin Spears raves about how fast Terrence Lewis is. One of the fastest guys in the country you've never seen.
Well, he has that look of a Deion Sanders when he's on the football field. Like, you can clearly see he's faster than the other guys.
Yeah.
And so you know if he gets into open field, he'll definitely score or make something big happen. As a punt returner and wide receiver running those little slot plays, I mean, this guy is very dangerous with the football. I mean, it seems like it's just cramps, and that's the guy that you want to get back into the game as soon as possible.
It looked like he was jogging off the field all right. We'll see how quickly Melvin Spears Jr. puts him back into the fold. Brandon Bridge trying to bring Alcorn back. This is a team that struggled scoring in the 4th quarter last season. 43 4th quarter points all of 2010. Empty backfield, quick throw for Bridge. Got his man.
That's the freshman, number 6, Tollett George. And he's out of New Orleans High School, went to Edna Carr High School. I actually saw him lead his team to the state championship as a quarterback last year, and they lost that game. But you always like to have those quarterbacks playing different positions because he understands what the defense is trying to do, and he can make the adjustments on the fly.
Bridge, this is how he got the touchdown. Tried to do that again. Went high into the air, and David Stuckman with a big hit on Brandon Bridge. Saw Bridge leap over Brune Foster for a touchdown on the last drive.
I don't know. I wonder if he runs track. Is he on the high hurdle team? Because this is becoming a regularity. You can tell the guy has some ups, but you have to save that for special moments, because if not, those defenders will start to pick up on that, and you're in a very vulnerable position leaping into the air.
Terrence Lewis back on the field after being shaken up a couple of plays ago. No gain on 2nd and 7. That'll bring up 3rd down, and a big 3rd down coming up for Alcorn State. With 8.5 to go here in this 4th quarter. From Shreveport, Louisiana, Grambling with a 21-14 lead on Alcorn State, the opener of the 2011 SWAC season. Grambling with Doug Williams at the helm, 2nd stint. Meanwhile, Melvin Spears Jr. back at his alma mater as well. Adam Amin, Eddie Robinson Jr. on hand. And Alcorn State being down for most of this 2nd half, looking for a comeback. Bridge evades pressure and gets rid of it. It was deflected. Edward Patterson was there to deflect the pass away, but a flag is thrown, and this has been a theme over the course of the night in this SWAC opener. A lot of penalty flags.
Holding, 67, offense. 10-yard penalty, replay 2nd down.
Trenton Livingston with a busy night tonight.
That's been the Achilles heel for Alcorn State. A couple of good plays on this drive, then you get a holding penalty. We'll see if they can overcome the penalty. They have 2 down, 2nd and 3rd down. They need a big play here to get themselves into a manageable position on 3rd down.
They'll empty it out for Brandon Bridge.
He's always a threat to run, even with the empty backfield.
2nd and 20. And timeout is called. It'll be an Alcorn State timeout, their 2nd of this 2nd half. Monday, Jesse Palmer and David Pollock provide an engaging and interactive look at the past week's action, and they'll set the scene for the upcoming week's big games. Strap yourself in for an entertaining and opinionated 3-hour college football forum, the Palmer and Pollock Show, on ESPNU at 1 and 10 Eastern Monday. College football lives here every day on ESPNU. Grambling scoring 21 unanswered points to go up 21-7. And as we talked about, Brandon Bridge with that touchdown drive on Alcorn State's last possession. Get a look at the penalties. Grambling State has 11 penalties as well, and Alcorn State with over 100 yards in penalties.
That's something that these teams will both get better on going through the year. I mean, the coaches will emphasize that and make it something that you improve on. But for tonight, it's very painful when you can have so much success but still have those penalties. And fans hanging in there tough. It's been raining from the beginning of the game to now, so these fans have been sitting in the rain for 2-3 hours and still supporting their schools. Alcorn State Braves and forced the Grambling State Tigers.
Grambling about an hour east of Shreveport. Alcorn from Lorman, Mississippi. Grambling picked to win the SWAC West this season after they finished 2nd to Texas Southern last season, while Alcorn is trying to build off kind of a rough season last year, 5-6, 4-5 in conference play. 2nd and 20, push back inside of their own territory, Alcorn State. Let's see what Brandon Bridge can come up with now. Quick throw, big pop. Brune Foster on the stick. Simon Collier got the pass, and boy, Foster laid a lick on him.
Yeah, Brune is a hitter. You can tell he's squatting. What you see there is that they're bringing the pressure, so he knows it has to be a hot route. But he's just sitting with his feet planted. He drives downhill and makes a big hit on the receiver.
Foster, the leading tackler out of the defensive backfield coming this year in 2011. 3rd and 20. Bridge stays in bounds, gets rid of the football, and a 4th down coming up. Big stop for Grambling with just over 7 minutes left. That's been a theme tonight, too. Grambling's pressure has been very consistent over the course of the evening, and decision time here. Let's see if Brandon Bridge is even going to get a thought of going back out into the field.
I think he wanted another crack at it. Melvin Spears considered it. Looked like he was going to keep him out on the field, but I think the best thing to do here is punt. There's still a lot of football to play. 7 minutes left in the ball game. You don't want to give up this type of field position if you don't convert.
Again, Alcorn State hasn't played poorly defensively in this ball game by any means.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, a couple good drives here and there, and Grambling has been very opportunistic, taking advantage of the Alcorn State turnovers and putting points on the board with a short field.
Kenneth Batiste is back to return, and Tamayo getting ready to punt. He's had some good ones tonight. He's kicking into the wind here, and a very stiff one at that. Melvin Spears said, offense fills the seats, defense wins games, but special teams wins championships. I thought that was a very interesting quote from Melvin Spears Jr., and he puts a lot of pressure, not necessarily, but there's a lot of weight on Arturo Tamayo's shoulders as the punter and as the kicker for this team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to have that, because in these type of games, these close games, 7 points,
Please
3
reset
points,
the game clock.
You're always worried about one mistake on the special teams play, one missed block on the punt. You get a punt block, there's a very good chance that you will lose the football game. When you're playing a lot of freshmen this early in the football season, some guys have never competed at this collegiate level, and you're always concerned about a freshman mistake on special teams that can cost you a ball game early in the season.
You get a look at Melvin Spears Jr., who was an offensive coordinator for 3 seasons and then took over as the interim head coach after this man Doug Williams left Grambling. These two guys are first cousins. They know each other very well. They grew up together.
I think regardless of the outcome of this game, both of these teams have shown enough that they have a lot to build on, a lot of things that you can point to your team and say, if we eliminate these mistakes, eliminate these penalties, then we could have easily won that football game, or we could have won by a bigger margin. So I think moving forward in the SWAC, both of these teams will be a force to be reckoned with, and you have to give a lot of credit to this DJ Williams, a freshman quarterback coming out here and playing well, and also Brandon Bridge for Alcorn State. Both of the quarterbacks playing well, and the defenses are coming and playing well. So I think both of these teams have a really good outlook for this football season.
And I think Melvin Spears is really happy with the defensive effort today from his Alcorn State D, because he said he is really relying heavily on his defense this season, especially with a young quarterback. Doug Williams, more of an offensive-minded guy, and he has actually gone to his defense to help his offense during spring camp and during fall camp as well coming into the season. These two guys have a lot of stock put into their defenses. Texas Southern had maybe the best defense in the SWAC last year. Guess what? They won the SWAC.
Absolutely. And Texas Southern struggled offensively last year, but they had enough on the defensive side of the football to get them to the SWAC championship game and win. But let's make no mistakes about it. I mean, Doug Williams is a quarterback. He wants to throw the football and make big plays. Melvin Spears, offensive coordinator, he wants to do the same thing. But they're realizing the limitations they have with the young quarterbacks and the inexperience on offense. So both of them are leaning heavily on their defenses and the running game to have success early in the season until they can implement their full playbook. Because they have huge playbooks. Both of these guys have been known to put points on the board.
Clock issues is what has caused our delay. The clock was over 7 minutes when that last play finished off with Brandon Bridge throwing it away. And I think the scoreboard on the stadium clock kept on moving. Brendan Livingston is already on a busy night, throwing a lot of flags. He's going to try to sort all this out. Doug Williams, you get an explanation. Doug was joking around with us a little bit, and as we mentioned, first cousins with Melvin Spears Jr., and said, what's your favorite thing about being cousins with Melvin Spears? He said Melvin's mom makes about as good of a cake as there is.
Right.
These two guys spent summers together. Their mothers are sisters. They spend their summers at Mama B's house. Both their moms are in attendance tonight.
Well, here was on the field for the coin toss, actually, which I thought was very nice. Very nice.
It is a family affair. They were on the field earlier, as Eddie mentioned, but they're up in the suite levels now. State Drive for the most part of this night tonight.
And Doug said he talks with Melvin a couple times a week.
Yep.
It's not a lot about football. It's just, I mean, those guys are friends, like you said, cousins, and they have a lot in common other than football. They work together. So, but once the whistle blows, it's full bore competition. And you like nothing more to beat your friends and your relatives and your cousins. You get to brag all year long at the family reunions, picnics, and everything else. So, I mean, it's a lot of competition going out on this football field.
So after all that, the clock sitting at 7:08. About 11 seconds ran off from where it originally was. Tamayo into the win with a very good punt. Excellent punt from Arturo Tamayo again. There's one of the ways special teams can win you a championship. Pinning your opponent deep inside of their own territory. That's what's going to be going on for Grambling with under 7 minutes to go, up by 7. We've had a great first weekend of college football here in 2011, and guess what? We got more of it for you next week right here on ESPNU. Central Michigan and Kentucky getting set to go at noon Eastern next Saturday. Stanford against Duke. A lot of pressure on Stanford to pick up a non-conference win in a stacked SEC, and then Bethune-Cookman will square off with South Carolina State. Kenneth Batiste on first down. 3-yard pickup, 2nd and 7 coming up. Kenny Roby is up there on the front line for Alcorn State, along with Carrington Alisei, freshman from American Samoa. You see 94. Maola Maluga, also a freshman from American Samoa. Very interesting connection. Melvin Spears Jr. was able to get a couple of sought-after prospects. 2nd and 7. Batiste. Room on the edge to the 15. Flag is thrown.
That's a big break for Alcorn because Grambling was in a 3rd and short situation, and that's just a killer if you're a coach. And you work hard on 1st and 2nd down, you get into that 3rd and short, and then you get a holding penalty when you're trying to just milk this clock, take some air out of the game, run the football. So guys have to keep their hands inside. You can't have the holding penalties.
Especially this deep in your own territory. 2nd and 12 coming up. There is Doug's son, DJ Williams, first career collegiate start. Pressure being shown by Laron Trigg. Picked up nicely by the front line, deep down the sideline, incomplete. 3rd and long coming up for DJ Williams. Mario Lewis was the intended target, and Williams has been hurried often tonight. He's, to his credit, stood in the pocket and taken the punishment, but his front line at times has had a couple of leaks.
Well, you know, we talked about that with Doug Williams. You know, what happens when your son takes a big hit? Do you go from coach back to daddy and say, hey, man, get up, don't hit my son that hard? But he said he took a hit last year when he was at the prep school over at Hargrave, and he said he told him, hey, you sure you send that tape to my older sister Ashley so she can know that I'm a tough player and I can take it. And today he's definitely taking the tough hits and shaking them off.
3rd and 12 coming up for DJ Williams. Handoff to Batiste. Won't be enough for the first down. They're just trying to push forward a little bit and burn a little bit more clock. Alcorn State doesn't want to use that final timeout with under 6 minutes left. They want to save that for their offensive possession. It'll be a punt for Fabian Carter coming up. How about Batiste? 85 yards on the ground tonight, including his first career rushing touchdown. And he's off the field, as is the Grambling offense. And Alcorn State could have good field position here. It's going to be up to Fabian Carter to try to put some good foot into this one, with Terrence Lewis waiting back at his own 40-yard line.
Terrence Lewis has to make sure that he can catch this punt. He's let a couple of them hit and roll. He's led to some really big punts today.
This is a pretty solid one. Lewis at the 40. Good coverage that time from Grambling. Brune Foster able to come up and make the stop. A little help for Grambling as well on that coverage unit from E.J. Terry. Let's see if Alcorn State has it in him. Brandon Bridge with his club down 7. 5 minutes left in the opener of 2011.
Also give it 276.
5:06 to go, and college football primetime presented by McDonald's has a good one for you in the opener of the 2011 SWAC season. Brandon Bridge able to lead Alcorn State on a touchdown drive a couple of drives ago. Now trying to tie the game. 1st and 10 and time to throw. Complete just shy of midfield to Dante Parker on a pickup of 5 yards. 2nd and 5 coming up with under 5 to go. And there's number 5. Dante Parker, a junior out of Arlington, Texas.
When you're running this 2-minute offense, if you're Brandon Bridge, you don't worry about scoring a touchdown. Just get completions. Just try to get first downs, have positive plays, just move down the field. You have lots of time, over 4 minutes to play.
Empty backfield. We've seen this often. Bridge steps up and delivers. Good catch by Parker. Bobbled and got inside of the 40-yard line after he corralled it. Couple of catches for Parker. That time a dozen for a first down.
You see if Grambling makes the adjustment with all corners doing it, running the 4 wide receivers deep. They're just letting Parker work the middle of the field with the one-on-one isolation with the linebackers. In the last 2 plays, he's been successful.
Inside of the 40-yard line, 1st and 10. They call him Air Canada. He's got options through the air. Terrence Lewis to the 35-yard line on 1st down. A pickup of 4, 2nd and 6 coming with 4 minutes left. We've seen Brandon Bridge start to find that comfort level a little bit. We talked about DJ Williams, the freshman, finding that zone as well. Bridge might be finding that right now late in the game when they need it.
And, you know, it's amazing. A lot of quarterbacks, once they get into this 2-minute situation, they complete a couple passes. It's just like quick to make it happen.
Another quick toss. Lewis stays on his feet to the 30-yard line. Exuma finally gets him. But a 3rd and very short coming up on a pickup of 5 yards for Terrence Lewis.
Graham's going to be comfortable. They'll give up those short plays and just see if they Alcorn State can either make a mistake or they make a big play. The time is definitely on the Tigers' side, but as they get down closer to the red zone, we'll see if they bring pressure like on this 3rd down situation.
Trying to convert on 3rd down for the first time tonight. 0 for 10 on 3rd down, and Bridge rushed to throw to Lewis.
He had that one. He was wide open. The Grambling State defense had him uncovered in the slot. That would have been an easy 1st down and a lot more. You can see Lewis is just standing there. Just have to make a nice, easy throw. That's when he wish he could get back.
What do you think, Eddie? You think you go for it on 4th down and short?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, on the 30-yard line, the punt would do you no good. And plus, only 3 minutes left in the game. So you have to come up with your best power play, or you roll out and keep the hands into your talented quarterback, Brandon Bridge.
This is what they did on 4th down a season ago. Ruben Duckworth is in the backfield. Deep back with Bridge under center. Duckworth the call. Grambling the stop on 4th down. The All-American Exuma getting a little help from Jamarcus Savage. Grambling takes over, 3 minutes left.
And that's a tough call. You're running into the strength of this Grambling's team. Look at the linebackers flowing, coming underneath, a lot of penetration. Exuma, the rest of the guys never had a chance. Jamarcus Savage, you got some players on that front 7 for Grambling State.
And 3 minutes left to go. Grambling takes over up by 7 with a couple of timeouts. Alcorn State only has, remember, 1 timeout left. We saw them have to use a couple of those timeouts earlier in this game because a little bit of disorganization on the offensive end. Kenneth Batiste across the 35-yard line. Good solid gain on 1st down, and the clock will continue to move after a gain of 5. How big are those timeouts now all of a sudden?
In a tight ball game, timeouts will always come back to haunt you. It seems like it's the cliche of announcing, but when you burn those timeouts early on miscommunication plays, 4th quarter, you always wish you still had them.
2nd and 6 coming on the 37-yard line for DJ Williams. He's now just trying to manage the final 2.5 minutes. Up by 7, pressure coming. You see LaRon Trigg up on the line. Pitch goes to Batiste. Good coverage from Alcorn State's defense. Jamison Knox from the cornerback spot making the stop. And that'll bring up a 3rd down for Grambling's offense. Kirk Herbstreit High School football returns to ESPNU tomorrow with a pair of games, both out of the state of Ohio. A couple of good defenses from some of those teams, St. Xavier specifically. They'll be at noon, 3:30, Springfield and Upper Arlington. Also available at ESPN3.com. Kirk Herbstreit High School football on ESPNU. Melvin Spears Jr. and the Alcorn State Braves having to burn their final timeout with 2:21 remaining in this ball game. And you get a look at Michael Roach as well, trying to get the defense going. His first year as the defensive coordinator for Alcorn State, but a former coordinator under Spears. at Grambling when Spears was at one point the interim head coach, then became the coach for 2 more seasons. And the guy who actually played at Southern University in this conference, knows this conference pretty well. And he's had a lot of good things to say about his defense tonight. Now he needs something big from him.
Yeah, they need a big play here on 3rd down. This is pretty much the play of the ball game if you're Alcorn State. They've been bringing a lot of pressure in these situations. We'll see if they come after the quarterback, DJ Williams, try to force him to having to make a bad throw or make a mistake.
Big 3rd and 8 for Grambling with 2:21 left. Roby went for a receiver instead. Mario Lewis makes the catch. 1st down, Mario Lewis, and Grambling a pickup of 12. You saw Kenny Roby coming off the edge that time for Alcorn State, and he went after Batiste, who came out of the backfield. Lewis ended up open right across the middle of the field, and a 1st down pickup. No timeouts for Alcorn.
Yeah, couldn't diagnose the play. He's coming, and he could have just went to the quarterback. He may have had a chance to put a hit on Williams, but that's a good play because you have that slip screen coming up the middle and a diversion going to the other side, and it distracted the rusher.
Under 2 minutes to go. 1st down, good field position. DJ Williams. LaRon Trigg trying to get penetration. He does. And that time Kenny Roby able to make the stop on Batiste. A loss of 3. 2nd down coming up. But Grambling in burn mode right now with this clock as their friend.
And this is how you tell what your team is about. I mean, everybody knows that Grambling has to run the football, including the Alcorn State team. So you want to tell your big guys, hey, can we run the football when the defense knows that we have to do it? And that's how you know if you're a good team and if you have that mental toughness to go up there and execute and make plays when the other team knows what you're going to do.
A Grambling 1st down will end this game. We've got a couple of shots at it on 2nd and 13. Play clock down at 5. Just got it off in time. Williams tucks it. Trigg pushes him down, as does Jermaine Turner. DJ Williams, his 1st career collegiate start, under the watchful eye of his father, Doug Williams. What a pedigree for Doug Williams, and what pressure. No matter what you say, there's pressure. Whether it's DJ Williams being the son of Doug Williams, whether it's DJ Williams taking over at Grambling, a storied program, whether it's DJ Williams being a young kid as a freshman, a true freshman, taking over as a quarterback of a collegiate program. I don't care what anybody says. There's pressure on that kid, and he really stepped up today.
Yeah, he performed well. I mean, but if you notice DJ Williams, I mean, I've been around this kid, I mean, for quite some time as a young player. You know, seeing him as a ball boy at the banquets, he was always right in Doug Williams' hip pocket. So you have to think it's no way he couldn't have learned something just being in the meetings in the locker room all those times as a young kid around this Grambling State program. And you can tell. You look at this 2nd down play. You have a true freshman quarterback. How many people will run a bootleg in that situation and trust him to make the right decision? If nobody's wide open, you just take it and slide and keep the clock moving, stay in bounds. So he's been doing all of the right things that a senior guy, a veteran quarterback should do as a freshman, and you really like that.
First couple touchdowns tonight, one to Bakari Maxwell, one to Mario Lewis as well. 3rd and 13. Batiste stacked up. Kenny Roby's there. He's getting a little chippy down the stretch. These two teams. Grambling picked to win the West. Alcorn picked to finish 2nd in the East. And Melvin Spears and Doug Williams, cousins, good friends, both of them said you could be looking at a rematch between these two teams in December for the SWAC title game. Doug joked around though and said, yeah, we're fine with that. We'd love to see him as long as, you know, we win. So.
Yeah, he said as long as we win this one tomorrow and as long as we win again in December, if we would happen to play the Alcorn State Braves. A lot of football left in this young season, but both of these teams have showed enough to know that they're going to be contenders.
It's going to take something big with under 10 seconds to go. Terrence Lewis let it head out of bounds. 56-yard punt and maybe one shot down the field with 4 seconds remaining. It's got a little interesting for a moment down the stretch of this ball game. And make no mistake about it, this is a rivalry game.
Yeah, give Alcorn State credit. I mean, they were down 21-7, and that offense was really sputtering, a lot of penalties and mistakes, but they did come back. They fought. you know, under the leadership of Brandon Bridge to get another score. Cut it to 21-14 and had a couple possessions where they had a chance to put points on the board and tie this game up. On a big fourth down play, just couldn't convert.
Alcorn State has had a couple of huge plays today. Total offense, Grambling only outgaining Alcorn by 20 yards in this game. But think about all the third downs that have failed for Alcorn State in this ballgame. 0 for 10. Failed to extend some drives. Saw it a moment ago on a 3rd and 1 on an open receiver. Brandon Bridge just overthrew him on a screen. We'll have a shot down the field. Everybody back in a prevent defense. Brandon Bridge going to need his feet. Air Canada takes off. Brandon Bridge down the sideline. Wrapped up, brought out by Naquan Smith, and that'll take us to the end of this ball game to kick off the 2011 SWAC season. Back at the helm, Doug Williams beats his first cousin, Melvin Spears. 21-14, Grambling wins. And in his second stint as head coach, Doug Williams trying to continue the success. A family affair tonight, certainly.
A lot of guys are good friends on both of these coaching staffs. A lot of the Alcorn State coaches used to be at Grambling with Doug Williams and vice versa. So all of these guys are competing and going hard. Then you go back to be friends tomorrow and get ready for the next one.
They're saying Doug Williams with an opportunity to snap that opening night losing streak to Alcorn State. They're able to pick up a victory by 7 points. It's time now for tonight's Lexus HBCU post-game report. A 21-14 victory for Grambling tonight over Alcorn State in this rivalry matchup. Welcome back into our broadcast booth with Eddie Robinson Jr., Adam Amin on hand, and a couple of teams tonight that just know each other so well. You knew that it was going to be a war, as both coaches talked about. They know each other well. They know these programs well, and it's the SWAC opener. It's a lot riding. This is conference play from the get-go. Both of these teams really wanted it tonight. A couple of young quarterbacks. I think it was interesting that the younger quarterback, DJ Williams, son of Doug Williams, put down a very impressive performance to give Grambling the win tonight.
Yeah, DJ Williams, of course, he scored the 2 touchdown passes, and more importantly, he got the W for Grambling State. Brandon Bridge, I mean, he was a little off on this game, came back and showed something in the 3rd and 4th quarter. I think both of these teams have a lot to play for, and I think both of them will compete going down the stretch in this SWAC conference.
Well, a 21-14 victory. We've had a lot of interesting plays over the course of the night. Some early touchdown strikes. Terrence Lewis on the other side of a Brandon Bridge throw got flushed out of the pocket and just tossed a gorgeous one to the end zone. But then DJ Williams, Eddie, you said this is important. They responded right away.
Well, DJ Williams came right back with a big touchdown pass up the sideline, and right before the half, another one with only a couple minutes left, he throws another strike down the sideline, and here is a big run coming into the end zone right at you to give them a 21-7 lead by Batiste. But still, Brandon Bridge does this play. Air Canada going into the air to cut it to 21-14. But in the end, Alcorn State just ran out of steam and couldn't do enough to catch up with their rival, the Grambling State Tigers.
DJ Williams in his debut performance, 16 for 24 with a couple of touchdowns. Bridge tried to take over the ball game, had some opportunities late. And you saw Kenneth Batiste with his first career rushing touchdown. Well, DJ Williams, the son of Doug Williams, obviously, we mentioned how well Doug and Melvin know each other, but DJ and Melvin obviously have a great relationship as well, and you saw them at the end of the ball game tonight. DJ Williams, I think, made a pretty nice impression on Melvin Spears Jr. There's Papa, pretty proud of his little boy tonight. 37 years ago, Doug Williams took over Grambling as the true freshman at the quarterback position tonight. He watches his son lead Grambling to a victory. Once again, our final score from Independence Stadium, Grambling 21, Alcorn State 14. Coming up next, we'll send you back to the studio for Sports Center U. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For our entire ESPN crew and Eddie Robinson Jr., Adam Amin saying good night from Shreveport, Louisiana. Let's take it to Sports Center U. Welcome to the 2011 season.
This is a special presentation of CBS Sports Network.
When you look back at the number of guys who were participating on both teams, who went on to the NFL. It lets you know the caliber of play that was actually going on that day.
I've heard a lot of stories about people who were supposedly at the game when Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points. Second for me in my world is the number of people who were at that 1968 game. It's something that they hold in their hearts and in their memories with a lot of pride.
All of Black College, all of Black America would be looking at this as being a major event.
This was always known as the first and most important because it broke all those barriers down.
Black college football is just as good, if not a better story than the Negro baseball leagues. Because of its endurance, it's been around a lot longer, and they continue to be around. Not many people knew about black colleges back then, especially outside of the South. And sadly, some people in the South, were unaware of their existence. After emancipation, one of the first things most slaves wanted was an education. They wanted to learn to read, they wanted to learn to write. And so you had these black colleges starting up to teach an entire generation, to educate an entire generation.
They sprouted up in churches, open fields, and abandoned barns, anywhere a class could be held. And as the thirst for education grew, so too did historically black colleges and universities.
The average young African American who did not attend a historical black college, I think you missed a treat. And not only that, but you missed an opportunity to really, really know who you really, really are. And I think that's what Grambling did for us.
People go to historically black colleges because they want superior educations and they want the social networks that you get from going to any college. But they're also extremely historical organizations. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for them to just really celebrate that unique history.
For students and alumni of historically black colleges and universities, nowhere is that pride more fervently displayed than on fall Saturdays during football season.
It was an opportunity for the black community, to come together. And that's what a lot of black college football games are about. It's part church, it's part picnic, it's part R&B concert. And somewhere in there they play a football game.
For anyone who has never attended a historically black college football game or halftime of one of those games, it's something that they should have the opportunity to do because it'll give them another piece of the puzzle of why there's a little bit of something different that came from the whole expression of historically black college football.
While pride and pageantry were on display on game day, so too was a thrilling brand of intercollegiate football, played since just before the turn of the 19th century and comprised of dynamic stars with nicknames to match. The original Big Ben was Benjamin Stevenson, whose all-around play on both sides of the ball helped Tuskegee dominate in the 1920s. The man who invented the sack, David Deacon Jones, began his assault on quarterbacks in the late 1950s while attending South Carolina State and then Mississippi Vocational. Florida A&M's Bullet Bob Hayes also earned the distinction as the world's fastest human after winning Olympic gold in the 100-meter dash and the 400-meter relay in 1964. And a decade later, arguably the greatest running back the game has ever seen was shattering records at Jackson State. Sweetness, Walter Payton.
People like Earl Campbell, before they could go to the University of Texas, somebody like that would have gone, almost automatically would have gone to a black college, Prairie View, TSU, or Grambling.
Back then, we didn't have to worry too much because there were still segregated schools. And so the majority of the kids that came to us were kids who came out of segregated high schools.
We used to follow Morgan, Tennessee State, Florida A&M, because in many ways we had a lot in common. We were trying to all collectively as a family prove that black college football was as good as any.
Because of the NFL being segregated in those early years, the players really had very little option. They could play in kind of semi-pro leagues. There was no professional option in any sport in this country in the early years of Grambling and other HBU's success.
But opportunity would knock in 1960 when a new league was formed to rival the NFL. It was called the American Football League, and it was about to challenge the old guard.
In order to compete against the National Football League, the American Football League say, look, we need something different, we need speed. Where would they find this kind of talent? So they say, well, look, let's look at those predominant black schools. Let's go into Grambling and see what they got.
These schools have their place and their niche. Pro football owes them an enormous debt. And I don't think the AFL could afford its way into merger without its access to the historically black college football teams.
It was a win-win relationship. Black college stars helped the AFL succeed, while the AFL provided them the chance to play professionally. By 1966, agreement was reached for the AFL and NFL to merge. It was also growing apparent that one school in particular was setting the standard for developing pro talent. A football factory in the form of a tiny, unknown, and underfunded school thriving in the heart of northern Louisiana.
I'm Megan, and this is my emergency.
The Grambling history from the 40s to, say, 1980, enormous impact on America in a million ways that maybe parts of America will never know.
The Colored Industrial and Agricultural School opened its doors in 1901 to educate the farmers of northern Louisiana. It became Grambling College in 1946 in honor of white sawmill owner P.G. Grambling, who donated the property on which the school was built. The name change was overseen by Grambling's second president, Ralph Waldo Emerson Jones, known affectionately as Prez. Among his many critical contributions, Jones coached Grambling's baseball team, spearheaded the creation of the famed Tigers Marching Band, and in 1941 hired a new football coach by the name of Eddie Robinson.
Eddie did everything. He was a coach, he taught a couple of classes, he lined the football field. In a way, the program was kind of a one-man show, and he was the show.
We never had a weighting room. I mean, we didn't have a lot of weights. Now, matter of fact, I don't even remember lifting weights when I was at Grambling. We didn't have anything. The practice field was just sand mostly. It wasn't in dirt. There wasn't a lot of grass on it, so you did what you had to do.
There was a time when they forgot Grambling existed, left it out of the state budget, and told the school, well, do the best you can, work for nothing this year, we'll catch up with you next year.
A lot of us came to college with a chip on our shoulder, feeling that the opportunities wasn't the same. But we were blessed with Coach Robinson because he never allowed us to make excuses.
It didn't take long for Robinson's genius to reveal itself. In just his second year, he led the Tigers to an undefeated season in which their defense held every opponent scoreless. A pair of 10-win seasons followed in 1945 and 1947, at which time Robinson set his sights on a bigger prize, sending the first player from a black college into an almost completely white NFL. He would need a tank to break through that color barrier, and that's just what he had. Paul Tank Younger had just set an NCAA record with 60 career touchdowns while playing running back, offensive tackle, and linebacker. Robinson helped Tank negotiate a $6,000 free agent contract with the Los Angeles Rams. While Younger waited to board a train for the long journey west, Robinson had a few parting words for his player.
So they're standing by the depot. Tank's got the suitcase next to him. And Eddie says, now Tank, you gotta understand, you gotta make it. You gotta make it. You go up and join that team. If you don't make it, we may never have another black kid out of these black schools have any kind of shot. We cannot let them down. You're the gatekeeper. You got to go up there. You got to make that team. Can you make it? And Younger looks at him. Younger had a great sense of humor. Younger looks at him and says, Coach, if they're playing volleyball, I can't make a promise. If they're playing football, I'm going to make it. And he did.
Tank was the Jackie Robinson for black college football because there had been none before him. You know, some players who had tried but really didn't make it. But Tank came along and made it, you know, right off the bat, and he made it big. And that opened the doors for a lot more black college players.
Tank opened the door, and Robinson continued to send players through it, providing an array of future stars and Hall of Famers to the professional ranks. Willie Davis, who had anchored an undefeated Grambling team in 1955, went on to anchor 5 Green Bay Packer championship defenses. In 1963, Junius Buck Buchanan became the #1 pick in the AFL draft. His Grambling teammate, cornerback Willie Brown, joined him in the AFL that same year. All 3 are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
If the NFL was integrated when Eddie Robinson became head coach, he would have had a lot more players than the NFL. But when the first player went in, that was a signal that, you know, I can go to a kid's house and say, if you play here, you're going to get a great education. We're going to take care of all your social needs, and you're going to have a shot at playing in the league.
Robinson had led the program to incredible heights, but there was one missing piece to the puzzle. Someone to bring those achievements national exposure. Enter Grambling Sports Information Director, Collie J. Nicholson.
Collie had been the first African-American combat correspondent for the Marine Corps. And that's how he cultivated his relationships with the black media on a major scale. So when he gets out of the Marine Corps and he goes to Grambling, he knows how that works.
It was almost, I would have to say, like a miracle. Here we are in a town that's a small town, a very small school, that had no way of making an impact on America's consciousness until Collie Nicholson came along.
He would nickname the players. He would do all these things that nobody ever did in a black school. And he'd get the story out there. He'd run to the Ruston newspaper office. He'd drive to Shreveport, an hour away, and make sure he got in that paper there. He would run these stunts. Collie was the brains behind Grambling's aura, and it was Eddie's aura.
Collie called me my senior year, and he said, we're going to put you up for the Heisman Trophy. I laughed. You know, I thought that's the funniest thing of all time. Grambling State University, the Heisman Trophy? He said, yeah. He said, you can laugh, but we're going to do it. To finish 4th in 1977 in the Heisman Trophy was like finishing first.
Collie Nicholson, Coach Robinson, and the former president, Ralph Waldo Emerson Jones, they wanted to be the black Notre Dame. The 3 of those guys, you know, 3-headed monsters working together, and they really made Grambling what it is, what their program is.
By the late 1960s, Grambling's mystique had grown beyond the confines of Louisiana, or even the South, and into a national spotlight that would propel them all the way to the Big Apple.
I had done this magazine piece for True. And I showed it to Howard. I said, you know, somewhere in here, I think there's a television show. Because Howard and I had made a couple of shows. He said, we could sell this. Yes. Go down to Grambling.
After taking note of Grambling's production of Pro Talent, sports writer Jerry Eisenberg collaborated with Howard Cosell on a documentary on Grambling that aired nationally on ABC in January of 1968.
Run!
It was a seminal moment for the program.
It's just like we tell you, men. You got to be intelligent to play our kind of ball. You're going to have to make the changes, and you got to be ready.
That kind of focus had never been given to a black college program. And for ABC to come along and do that documentary, 100 Yards to Glory, on them, that just further set them apart, again, as the icon for black college football.
Other than Collie J. Nicholson, I think 100 Yards to Glory was the landmark media happening that gave Grambling a national voice.
that put a stamp on Grambling football that has made it, I guess you might say, a part of the fabric of this country.
Grambling College 100 Yards to Glory thrust Grambling onto the national stage and caught the eye of New York Yankees team president Michael Burke.
Well, Michael Burke called Howard and he called me. And he said, he saw the documentary. And he said, oh, God, why don't we put that team in Yankee Stadium?
The Yankees have been very remiss in supporting the African-American market. And this brought everybody into one place.
For the man who worked tirelessly to drive Grambling football into the stadiums of America's biggest cities, the chance to put the Grambling Tigers in Yankee Stadium was the opportunity of a lifetime.
It was a dream of college, and he held on to this when skeptics were all around. I mean, you know, taking the game to New York City, a black college game, you know, everyone found a reason to say this isn't going to work. But Collie was determined.
Collie took it upon himself to go to Madison Avenue and just start knocking on doors, looking for sponsorship. He shouldn't have been able to make this thing work. I mean, after the 100 Yards to Glory, Grambling had a little bit of name cachet at the time, you know, in the big city, but still, it's just a little small school from Louisiana. You know, who's going to go to that ball game? But he goes door to door, and he finally connects with the folks at Ballantine.
Ballantine Beer, a longtime sponsor of the New York Yankees, threw their hat in the ring. But the focus of this event would not be on profit. As the civil rights and anti-war movements swept the country in the 1960s, some of New York's neighborhoods were dealing with severe issues of housing, poverty, crime, drugs, and education that had decayed once vibrant areas of the city. In Harlem, school dropout rates were soaring to devastating levels.
They had civic unrest in Harlem, a lot of it. They never reached the level of Newark and Detroit and Washington, D.C., but it was bad.
With education always at the forefront of Eddie Robinson's agenda, the situation in America's inner cities greatly troubled him. He had been in touch with the New York Urban League to find a way to use football to help. This game would be the answer to aiding New York's underprivileged youth by raising money for the Urban League's Street Academy programs.
The street academies were really designed to provide young people with an opportunity to get their degree in the non-traditional setting, and they really were street academies. And so you would walk by and see a storefront, and it would be an opportunity for a young person to come and get the training and support that they needed in order to apply and get their degree.
It was important because it was there to help our young people. That was the main purpose of the game, to raise funds to help these kids through their college.
With a potential venue, sponsor, and beneficiary in place, the pieces were coming together. However, the final impetus to make this game a reality would be born from tragedy.
Like so many great pioneers before me, guided only by a dream, I'm embarking on a journey of epic proportion. I will travel from sea to shining sea, through amber waves of grey, and I won't stop until I've helped every driver in America save hundreds on car insurance. Well, I'm at the parking lot. That's a good start.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Are you overweight? Has it gotten so out of control that you've considered lipo?
It was a turbulent time, you know, with Martin Luther King getting shot, his assassination, and the riots that ensued, and just the whole racial climate at that time in this country was very unsettling.
I had never seen Eddie completely worried all the time, like he was during that time. And he had such high hopes for racial equality, and he had high hopes for putting Grambling on the map.
In April of 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was laid to rest in Atlanta, Georgia. Eddie Robinson attended the funeral with Florida A&M coach Jake Gaither and Morgan State coach Earl Banks. Deeply affected by the passing of the great civil rights leader, the three coaches met that weekend with Ballantine executive Bill Curtis to finalize a deal for the benefit game at Yankee Stadium, which they called the Invitational Football Classic. The four men formed the Football Coaches Foundation, a partnership between corporate America and black college football to benefit the underprivileged of New York. Now, just one decision remained.
The only decision was, so who's going to play this game? Between the three of us, which two of us are going to play? When Jake Gaither backed out, that left Morgan State and Grambling, and here we are.
Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, was founded 2 years after the Civil War, and much like Grambling, had a rich football tradition.
They had two of the greatest coaches in college football history. First, they had Eddie Hurt. Coach Hurt had 6 undefeated seasons. And in one stretch, Morgan State had 42 wins, no losses, but 6 ties. In the 1930s and the 1940s, Eddie Hurt and Morgan State were major players in black college football, and they had some incredible teams. When Earl Banks came along, his only thing was, how do I follow that act?
Earl Banks was building a program that would have the ability to compete not only at the college level, but for those few players who had the skills to go further. He was really trying to build a standard, and that standard was academic and athletic combined, and it was focused on that completely.
But Coach Banks was just talented. He was a gifted orator. He was a strategist. He was a motivator. He was a disciplinarian. He just was a man for all seasons.
What did he instill in us? The will to win, the will to overcome any odds.
He would be, I guess, the East Coast answer, with all due respect to him, of Eddie Robinson. Very well known, very successful, that type of person who had a big impact on young people.
If Grambling set the benchmark for producing professional players, Morgan State wasn't far behind. Among their many stars were NFL Hall of Famers Roosevelt Brown, Leroy Kelly, and Willie Lanier.
As you're looking at going into that game in 1968, Morgan State and Grambling, you had two powerful histories coming together in Yankee Stadium.
People choose 5-Hour Energy now over 9 million times a week for lots of reasons. It's a nutritional supplement that really works. Its key ingredients are found in everyday food like avocados, broccoli, and bananas, or all.
Grambling and Morgan State arrived in New York City one day before the game was to be played. Players from both teams were in awe of the sights and sounds of America's biggest city.
Well, we had to convince quite a few of the players to accept flying because now many of these guys had never been out of Louisiana in their entire lives.
Many hadn't been on the plane before. You know, a couple of guys on the plane even tried to open the window to get some air.
They gave us kind of like a tour through the city on the way to the hotel, and we saw some sights and some things that was happening in New York that just blew our mind.
We literally saw a guy walking down the street with a python around his neck. I'll never forget that. Big python snake around his neck, man. And we all just crowded over to the window, that side of the window, and guys ran from all over to see it, man. And it's all kinds of things. It was like going to Disneyland.
We had an incident where a guy went up to his room, came down, and when he came down, we found out the reason he had missed the meeting was he said he wasn't gonna walk back up all them stairs. They didn't know they had an elevator, you know.
You see guys that had a dice game going on right round the corner and the police sitting on the main street. We were saying, you know, if that was in Louisiana, they'd be putting them in jail. Them guys shoot dice right round the corner from the police.
Anyone who knew Eddie Robinson understood that every experience could be turned into a lesson. And as Grambling's team bus rolled through Harlem, the coach reinforced the value of education.
Eddie'd been almost everywhere. Overseas, he'd been, I don't think he'd ever been to Harlem. And this is not a good time. And as the team is driving, now most of these guys were from Jonesboro, Arkansas, and Bernice, Louisiana, and places like that. And they looked at the streets and they looked at the guys hanging out and everything. And Eddie said, take a good look at this. You're going to have your college diploma. Never going to be you standing on any street corner.
The powerful football traditions of these two programs were well represented on the 1968 rosters. Morgan State had won 26 consecutive games heading into New York and featured future Super Bowl champion running back John Frenchy Fuqua and Pro Bowl tight end Raymond Chester. The Grambling Tigers were led by yet another of Coach Robinson's barrier breakers, quarterback James Shaq Harris, who was about to become the NFL's first successful black quarterback. One of Shaq's targets that year was future NFL Hall of Famer Charlie Joyner.
We had gotten some film from the previous year, and so we knew the caliber of players that they had on the football team, and we knew it was going to be a challenge. But Coach Robinson never backed off of a challenge.
Two teams that come from winning traditions, and you don't want to lose.
Everybody knew about the great Eddie Robinson and all the great players that had come from Grambling.
Nobody could intimidate us because, we thought we could scrimmage the New Orleans Saints at the time.
The excitement was mounting for this historic matchup, but so too was the concern. Behind the scenes, the Yankee brass and the city of New York fretted over crowd control and the potential for violence or protest.
There were people that were concerned, senior CBS management, very senior CBS management. And I was asked to get a letter from City Hall saying that the city would provide extra security, which I did to satisfy management.
It was pretty edgy back then. Anytime you had that many black people gathering in one place, I think there was a fear from city officials, the police department, and so forth, concerned about the possibility of some kind of violence.
They didn't know where this game was going to go. They didn't know what kind of success it would be, and they didn't know whether it would be some other spark that could cause more negative things happening in the New York area that were happening in Detroit and other cities around the country.
AT&T and Verizon charge you extra for going over 2 gigabytes of data. T-Mobile slows down your data speed. With Sprint, you don't get charged extra and you don't slow down. And you get unlimited data, text, and calling to any mobile for only $79.99. The best unlimited plan wins. Make the most of unlimited data with a brilliant screen on a pencil-thin phone. Introducing the Samsung Galaxy S2 Epic 4G Touch.
My name's Jared Shoemaker. This is my wife, Alicia Kay, and we're professional triathletes.
And we're going to show you how to transition like the pros.
So we have our helmet here already on the bike. Sunglasses are actually already in the helmet too. So all you have to do is put your helmet on, clip it, and you're ready to go. And then you put your sunglasses on once you're out on the road. And then on the bike, we have the gel already taped onto the bike. So basically all you have to do is tear it right off, and then you can eat it while you're out on the road.
Next, and I think the coolest part about the way pros do their transition is actually the way we secure our bike shoes. So we have them clipped into our pedals. We use elastics to ensure that they're flat and ready to go, ready for power to be put on those pedals, and we secure it on the other side as well. So that way when we get onto our bikes, we're ready to go, we're ready on the mountain line, we're ready to push the power and get going. We've been through
Exoskins for a chance to win an Apple.
5 months after Martin Luther King Jr.'s death, on a Saturday in late September, a crowd of over 60,000 filled Yankee Stadium to witness the first football contest between two historically black schools played in New York City.
I have never seen that many black people going into a stadium in my life.
I will never forget when we walked out of that dugout to come out for our pregame, warm-up. This wall of noise hit us, you know, and we had never heard this kind of a roar come from a crowd. And I looked up in the stand and I saw all these people. This stand was just filled with people of color.
The excitement of just coming out of the locker room, taking the field, sports writers, cameras was everywhere.
It was amazing, you know, we were just like, you know, in awe.
It was no longer a dream, it was a reality, you know, and it was time to play the game.
For Grambling, the magnitude of the moment would not overshadow an unfortunate reality. They were entering the game without their star quarterback, number 14, James Shaq Harris, who was nursing an injured ankle.
The biggest worry, concern that we had that day was whether Shaq was going to be able to play or not.
I went out for the pregame and I couldn't drop back, couldn't put no weight on it. So that was one of the most disappointing things that ever happened in my career, that I just couldn't play, couldn't start in that game in Yankee Stadium.
Things went from bad to worse for the Tigers as the game got underway. On Morgan State's opening possession, quarterback Charles Harrison hit Raymond Chester streaking down the field for a 48-yard touchdown. The Bears jumped to a 7-0 lead.
They threw the ball, and for me, it was just, God let me catch it, you know, and then, you know, I could run. And so I wasn't worried about being caught, you know, once I caught it, and it just worked out that way.
The biggest thing I remember about that play, it wasn't on my side, it was on the other side.
Everybody was still kind of jittery and kind of getting the feel of the game itself. And it sort of set us back on our heels when they scored as quickly as they did, you see.
It was an eye-opener and a shocker at the same time, let you know that they had come to play.
Grambling struck back late in the second quarter on a big play of their own. Filling in for Harris, sophomore quarterback Frank Holmes connected with wingback Frank Lewis for a 33-yard touchdown. The score was tied at 7 at the half.
The feeling was, oh man, here they come, because we knew they had a great team, and if we could keep it to a low-scoring game, we figured we had a chance to beat them. But it was a little bit demoralizing when they came back and scored.
We feeling like we holding our own, you know, because our All-American quarterback is not in the game.
After the Tigers marching band wowed the Yankee Stadium crowd at halftime, the third quarter got underway. It became apparent very quickly that this was going to be a slugfest.
I was pissed off. I'm almost breaking every run. Somebody's always grabbing a shoe, a heel. There's always one more.
The Bears kept mostly to the ground with their backfield duo of John Fuqua and George Knock, gaining 138 rushing yards on the day. But the defenses would not relent, and the score remained tied early into the fourth quarter.
Coach Banks had a way of elevating the situation to a point of just urgency. He could motivate people in a way that is rare.
With 10 minutes to play and Grambling punting deep in their own territory, Raymond Chester was about to change the game again, this time on the defensive side.
When I went in on a punt return team, I just decided I was going to block the kick. And I just went back there and leaped up and boom, blocked the kick.
The ball rolled through Grambling's end zone for a safety, putting Morgan State in the lead, 9-7.
As the game went on and I started warming up, you know, I just started asking him to let me try a series, you know, just let me try one.
He had been badgering us all through the game, saying that he thought he could go. He said, if you give me a chance, I think I can move us down there and we can score. We saw then that we weren't going to get in with the present guy we had, and so we put James in.
Grambling's star quarterback was clearly hobbling, and his first 5 passes were incomplete. But suddenly the offense started to click, and the Tigers began to march.
He comes in limping, and then he proceeded to march down the field, throwing the ball like throwing darts. You know, and I don't think we particularly played any what they call a prevent defense, but it felt like it was prevent defense because they just marched straight down the club field.
When he came in the huddle, it was almost just like a new day, you know, that he's here. And they immediately began to think, well, we're going to go ahead and get this thing over and get a score and win it.
One thing I felt, if I can get back in the pocket and I can set my feet, I knew I had a good offensive line. I really wasn't concerned about him getting to me. So I had a lot of confidence. It's just a matter of being able to hobble back.
With a well-orchestrated balance of run and pass, the Tigers chewed up the clock and drove to the Morgan State 10-yard line, setting up a 1st and goal with 1:20 to play.
Crowd was going crazy, and by this time, you know, everybody was pretty tired, you know, because it was toward the end of the game, and we were just, you know, desperate to hold on.
After a 2-yard loss on 1st down, Grambling went to the air, and Harris found Lewis cutting to the end zone. The ref signaled him down at the 1-yard line.
I think we'll go to our graves, you know, as Grambling players, believing that Frank Lewis scored that ball when he was tackled down there on the 1.
On 3rd down with 37 seconds on the clock, Grambling fullback Henry Jones took it up the middle, but was met by a wall of Morgan State defenders. Frantically trying to quiet the crowd, Harris signaled a timeout with 4 seconds remaining.
Question was field goal, touchdown.
The kicker was good, but we had a better offensive line, and that's what we're made of, and that's what Coach Robinson believed in. That's the kind of football we played.
We just felt that they wouldn't hold us again. And that was a decision that we made on the sideline, that we wanted to go ahead and win it with a touchdown.
It came down to one final play. Needing less than a yard, Eddie Robinson sent his offense back on the field for 4th down, and Grambling went to the well one more time, giving the ball to Jones.
We thought we got in. The players on the field thought we got in, but the officials said we didn't get in.
It was one of those things that you just refuse to lose, and you don't know how you're going to come out of this, but you got to come out of this on top.
It was a great game, and we got to give Morgan a lot of credit, because they didn't hold us 1 down, they held us 4 down.
Football experts asked the question many times about the field goal, but I think when you're talking about the greatest coach to ever live, all you ask him to do is call the plays he believes in and what we practice. We practiced that play 1,000 times, and we've been in that situation. And if we had to do it over again, if he could text us from where he is today, we'd run it again.
Yeah, he took the heat, but I think he slept well that night, knowing that, hey, I did the best, felt good about it, didn't work out, let's move on. We have a game next week. I really think that's the way he looked at it.
Grambling probably had a better team than we had, okay? And it was proven out in games after that. You know, we never beat them again. We just were, you know, on a mission that day, and I think we were inspired. I think we played a little more inspired football than Grambling did.
I faced one of the toughest challenges of my life right here. I couldn't swim, but I can still hear my drill instructor today. Don't quit. So I jumped in, apprehensive and scared out of my mind, but I came up a Marine.
The game was definitely a statement about being black in America. I mean, for me, I sometimes compare it to, you know, white people had Woodstock, black people had this game, and they were both love-ins.
One of the things that it did, it showed America that HBCU played good football and that they had outstanding athletes
It was an opportunity for people to see the cultural significance of a historically black college and university. It was also a time for the individuals here in the city to come and celebrate themselves and to come to a truly terrific game.
I was in the mezzanine when the game ended, and I was going back to my office, and down one of the ramps, somebody started to sing, "We Shall Overcome." Everybody started to sing, "We Shall Overcome." It was absolutely a moving moment. I'll never forget it.
For the Yankee Stadium crowd, it was a captivating, prideful, and historic moment. And for all involved, the inaugural Classic was an enormous success, with every ticket sold and a television airing that Saturday night on WCBS in New York. The game raised over $200,000 for the New York Urban League's educational initiatives and cast an important spotlight on historically black college football.
It just goes to show how much the black community was starving for a showcase, that type of ball playing, and they would have supported it every time, every year.
It was like lighting a fuse and, hey, let's go to another city. And once it got caught on, other cities and their stadiums all but begged to have Grambling come in. They saw it as a money maker.
The Grambling football team and band went on to entertain across the country and even across the globe, playing the first ever collegiate football game in Japan in 1976. But the football classics were more than entertainment. They put black college stars on display for pro scouts to see.
None of us had ever played anything like that. 60-some thousand people in Yankee Stadium. It gave us exposure that many of us used to catapult us into professional careers.
NFL and AFL teams would draft an astonishing 31 players who were on the field that day in the Bronx in 1968. Black college football and its exceptional athletes could no longer be ignored. Schools across the country, even those in the segregated South, began to recruit from the same talent pool. In a twist of irony, that trend toward integration would undermine black college football's own level of excellence.
Once, particularly the southern schools, started to integrate, it became increasingly difficult to recruit the caliber kid that we had been able to recruit before. Resources were more plentiful. Facilities were normally much better. And they had boosters who were going to go the extra mile in order to influence kids to come to your school.
Eddie said to me, direct quote, "It's going to be harder. I am definitely for integration as a black man and an American. I'm not so big on it as a football coach because I know I'm going to lose players." And he did, he would.
A lot of the major programs did not show the interest and the insistence upon academic standing. That hurt a lot of young African-American men who were getting a full plate at the historically black college, only a partial one at the major universities.
Black college football is still around. It still has the bands, and it still has the connection between the alumni and that shared history in the black community. But in terms of what it was, pre-integration, it's not going to be that again.
Though integration took its toll on black college football, the Invitational Football Classic grew and prospered. Its name and venue have changed, but it remains a vital fundraiser for the New York Urban League and an ongoing source of pride and tradition almost a half-century later. After defeating Grambling in 1968, Morgan State ran its win streak to 31 games before suffering its only loss of the season. Earl Banks retired 5 years later and was enshrined in college football's Hall of Fame in 1992. The Grambling mystique continued to grow along with its victories, and the master of it all was Eddie Robinson. In his 57 years as Tigers coach, he sent over 200 players into the pros, and with 408 victories, is still the winningest coach in Division I history. Although Robinson couldn't count the 1968 game against Morgan State among his wins, that day, it wasn't the score that mattered. For the real victory was showcasing historically black college football on the biggest stage in America.
The Grambling Tigers was known as a team that have team will travel. And then that's what he exposed us to as young men, was an opportunity to go places that we probably wouldn't have ever dreamed of going.
That was a life experience for them. They would have never been probably to New York without being a member of the Grambling team. I'm sure they would.
It was a start of a big thing that was going to happen.
Going to New York, going to play in Yankee Stadium, that was the biggest thing in our lives.
If this game failed, there wouldn't have been a second game. There wouldn't be other national events involving HBCUs across the country that still exist to this day.
It overwhelms me when people talk about it with pride, and it just makes me really happy to be part of the tradition.
Blacks went to that game from New Jersey, from Connecticut, from Washington, D.C. It's a very positive thing for black schools. It's their game.
For them to be able to pull that off at that time is just amazing.
Getting this kind of coverage out of New York, which meant that you got coverage all over America, so to speak, was great. And it began to shine a spotlight on black college football.